CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our show. So our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Al Hartman, Alan Murphy, Alan Huffman, Amigos Retro Gaming, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donaghy, Brian Wiesler, Karen Anscombe, D. Bruce Moore, Davey Mitchell, Diego, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Downs, Jenna Farron, Ken Reichert, Kyle Etter, Malfunct, Michael Pittsley, Rick Hewlin, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Paul Thayer, Rob Inman, Stephen Wagner, Steve Batson, Steve Rasmussen, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom S., Tim Lindner, Tom Heron, and Tony C. Thank you ever so much, patrons. CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
Yeah. This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Good afternoon and happy 4th of July weekend to everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of CoCoTALK, where we are going to talk about everyone's favorite processor, the 6502. Are you ready?
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, we are here. Retro Innovation says, "Yay, 6502 talk!" Yeah,
He's going to be so disappointed.
Somebody's ears perked up there, right? In the live chat, Karen Anscombe got the first chat of the day recognition. Then we have Kevin Holloway, Nick Marotta, Jim Rye, David Craker, Retro Innovations, Jim Rye, Retro Innovations 60. All right. it says if we're doing 6502, the show's going to be 2 hours longer now, right? So
and done in very tiny little chunks.
Oh, and then Mark Bosley says, I thought the 4004 was the best. Okay. Yeah, we're really dating ourselves now. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, panel. Happy 4th of July weekend. The day we celebrate our treasonous Brexit of 1777. We don't need no stinking tea. We don't need no stinking taxes. So here we are. On the panel, we have our foreign correspondent, L. Curtis Boyle. Hello, L. Curtis.
And a happy long weekend for Canadians celebrating our July 1st day, where we became independent through a much calmer method than you guys did.
Or was it 1776? I think I'm off by a year, as Retro Innovations is questioning my history. Was it 17? Listen, it's all a blur. You know what I mean? Those were some crazy times. Yeah.
1867 for us. I remember that.
Yeah, okay. And then we have our Apple guy. No, excuse me, not our Apple, but our Atari guy is here. Sloopy Malibu. How you doing, Sloopy?
Greetings. I'm doing all right. Feeling much better, so you'll see me a little bit more nowadays.
All right. The world will rejoice. And we have from sunny Arizona, Ron Delvaux is with us. Hello, Ron. He's muted, but that's okay. And then we have Rick Hewlin. Hey, Rick.
Howdy, folks.
Rick recently gave us our second Operating Systems 9 write-up for the Glenside newsletter. Thank you for that, Rick. Name so nice, we must say it thrice, but we'll hit the soundboard once. It's none other than
Nick Marotta.
How you doing, Nick?
Hello, good day.
Your hair is looking luxurious as always.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Ontario
It's going to be a crime to get it trimmed.
It will.
And then we have Mark Bosley in the house, the
Hello.
backup streamer. Thank you for doing that last week. John Boat of Car Schaller from Amigos Retro Gaming is here. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, glad to be here, guys. Nick, I must say your hair is soft and luxuriant. I love it.
Absolutely, absolutely,
you.
absolutely.
Fabulous.
And last but not least, it's Nicholas Marentes. Hello, Nick.
Hello, world.
Hello, hello. All right, so we're here. It is a holiday weekend, so hopefully everybody's got better things to do than to watch this crap show. But for those of you who are here, thank you, and we're sorry. And we do have Game On results. We've got news. We'll probably have some product updates and acquisitions, maybe some other information, some teasers on upcoming guests and upcoming shows. Scott Cooper has joined us. Hey, Scott Cooper, how you doing? I don't know what plans everybody has for the holiday weekend. Anybody planning on blowing stuff up tonight? Anyone? Everybody lighting up things that make noise or shoot in the sky? No?
Yeah, I'm going to go see a bunch of fireworks put off.
Okay. All right. Rocky Hill has joined us. Hey, Rocky, how you doing? It's Pedro, right? My neighbor down in Miami. I'll just get on that turnpike and be there in like 3 hours if I leave now. Rocky. Excellent. So tonight is the night, or is it tomorrow? Today's the 3rd, right? So actually tomorrow is the 4th. So tomorrow night's the night everybody blows stuff up, right? Drinking beer, shooting stuff up in the sky, lighting stuff on fire. It's all good. America.
Yeah, ours was Thursday. So
America, right? Where we blow stuff up. That's how we celebrate. We blow it up real good.
we blow it up politely up here. That's our one difference.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe we shoot a fireworks, sir.
Oh, is that sparkler a little too bright? We're sorry.
Let me turn it down for you, eh?
So great show last week, guys. I listened all the way through the interview with our guest Stefan. A great interview. Really love that. It's about as far as I got in listening to the replay. But thanks for doing that. Thanks for Stefan for being here. And sorry I couldn't make it. But that was cool. Good show. I'm glad that. Thanks for doing that for us, Mark B. Despite
it's punishment, you had to glue it all back together.
Nah, that's okay. That's okay. Thanks for doing that.
I'll teach you to take a day off.
That's it. All right, so we've covered the the formalities, how we doing, what are we doing, all that kind of stuff. So how about we jump into the show part of the show, and we'll get into Nick Marotta's favorite part, anyways, of the Game
news.
On
Okay,
Challenge.
I'm ready. No,
Game On Challenge. Hey, Eric Canales has joined us. There, Eric, how are you? So we do not have a new and improved CoCo Thoughts from Samuel Gimes. So there's no song parodies. Sorry, Ron Delvo. I know that's going to break your heart.
It's okay, man.
Yeah. But I do have, from the vast array of content, I do have a best of. I picked a clip that I enjoyed from CoCo Thoughts this week. Erico Monterio is here. Hello, Erico. How are you? So let's go ahead. Chris Procher from the Dragon community is here. Hey, Chris. Hello, everyone from Wales. Good to see you, Chris. So we're going to look at a CoCo Thoughts, and then we're going to see what game we played there. Tim Holloran is here. The people are just showing up. Thanks for showing up. Yeah, we started, but we're glad you're here. Excellent. All right, let's see what that deep thinker Samuel Gimes has been thinking about.
And now, CoCo Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. I was trying to make some copies of discs, but the garden weasel kept tearing the magnetic media.
Wah, 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 wah. Where's David Ladd when you need him? All right, so
He forgot to grease his garden weasel first.
That's
the problem there.
Nick Marotta, are you ready for the results of this week's Game On Challenge?
I am.
All right, well, let's see what they were. Here we go.
High Score Challenge with
Nick Marotta.
Welcome to the results of this week's Game On Challenge. The game was Pac-Man Transcode. There were
Results?
18 participants, and the scores were as follows. Rick U, 4,490. Tom C, 4,530. Bob and Coco, 6,030. Mark B, 7,550. Jim Rye, 11,380. Rich N, 12,650. David Craker, 14,280. Sloopy Malibu, 14,530. Gary M, 15,170. Karen,
did I spell results wrong?
15,180.
Yeah, that's
Canadian
okay.
Retro Things, 18,850. Mr. Dave 6309, 18,950. L. Curtis Boyle, 20,830. Graham Vebke, 21,540. Paul Shoemaker, 25,780. Nick Marotta, 31,780. Buck Owens, 41,120. And the number one score this week goes to none other than Tasman with a chomping good score of 80,300 points. Thanks everybody who played this week, and we look forward to seeing you on next week's game.
Boom, there we go. Tasman. Good job. Good job, Tasman. 18. So the results this week, apparently I did a typo on that, huh? This
Yeah.
week's results were as follows. Excellent. Good game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, can I make a shout out real quick?
Sure thing.
I want to shout out to Pedro Pena because he spent all day trying to get VCC working on his machine and wasn't able to submit a score until late, but he eventually got it working.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Good job,
Excellent.
Pedro.
So we look forward to seeing Pedro in upcoming challenges, and that's great. So yes, Tim Allen says great score. That was a great score by Tasman for sure. So all right, so my screen should be sharing.
Yep.
We see you.
All right. So once again, Canadian Retro Things sent us a gameplay video with a few slight little glitches that happened later on because the Coco 3 overheated with the heat, and he's got the old style 512K RAM, which he thinks is
Nothing Can of Freon can't take care of. Ask Rick Adams about that.
So anyway, so thanks Canadian Retro Things. Check out his channel for retro content. So yeah, this is Pac-Man, king of all video games, arguably. And this transcode, of course, is using the arcade ROM, so it is allegedly arcade perfect. I shouldn't say allegedly, but there were a couple things that people noted. Patterns that they were used to didn't work, and the hiding spots that people used were not working consistently. But you have a theory to that. You have a theory for that, Curtis.
Yeah, well, I do know that there were some revisions to the ROMs even in the arcade because people had discovered these patterns or discovered the safe places, and they weren't getting enough quarters in the machines then. So I know they did some revisions a little bit later on to make the game a bit harder, and I'm wondering if Glenn Hewlett, the author of the transcode, might have grabbed one of the later ROMs to base this version on, and maybe that's why. I'm not super familiar with what versions of the ROMs were and what the changes were, so I'm hoping Glenn, if he hears this, can follow up with us a little bit later, maybe next week or so, and let us know if that's maybe what happened. Because yeah, a few people like Buck Owens, he said he's quite used to the arcade patterns, and he said they weren't working for him at all on this one. So I always just free floated. I didn't memorize patterns for Pac-Man even back in the day. I just winged it. Now we'll get into a bit of discussion of this a little bit later here, but I know a couple of us had problems with playing this on real hardware with real joysticks. We'll get into in a bit here, but yeah, I suspect it might be a ROM revision that caused the
well, I remember when Glenn was developing this and he was blogging about it and showing videos of the work in progress, he was doing a lot of stuff with the debugger to look at what the arcade machine was doing and what the CoCo was doing. And there were also some very slight timing differences where he ran both of them side by side. The CoCo ends up being like a fraction of a frame behind over time. And so I don't know if just a slight timing issue over time would affect how some of the algorithms work and whatnot. You know what I mean? So
that's a possibility.
Well, I do know there were different revisions because I had one of those books back in the day of how to break 1 million at Pac-Man. And one of the things actually said, you have to watch the game demo mode and to be able to tell which version of the ROM the game has. So they definitely did upgrade the ROM, so it does sound plausible.
Yeah, plus something like the safe spot shouldn't change on the timing because that was supposed to be safe no matter what.
Yeah.
And if that's disappeared, then obviously that's a ROM change. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the ghost patterns are based on, and Nick, I think you know some of the history of this too, Nick Marentes. But I believe that there was like certain spots that the program would look for, and if the player went through a certain spot, a ghost would change direction or something like that.
There's actually a really excellent article online I read that explained all 4 ghosts AI, and they basically each target a different square. One targets like right in front of Pac-Man, one targets one square and up over from Pac-Man, and something like that. So it's pretty interesting read if you can find it, if you're really into Pac-Man. And
so to Steve's theory, if the timing is slightly off and like the ghosts are a little bit behind, then a pattern may not work just based on that, because it might be looking, you know, the Pac-Man's a couple pixels over or something from that target zone you're talking about because of the timing difference. So the pattern may not perfectly work because it might be checking at a slightly different time to see, you know, where it's targeting to.
I gotta say, it's a stunning achievement though to pull this off.
Oh yeah.
You know, to get it running as good as it is. And I like the idea that he chose to, because the screen is taller, then rather than trying to squish it down, just to kind of pan through it. And it's such a subtle effect that it's not distracting from the game. It just almost seems to be so intuitively, this makes sense, you know, that kind of smooth hardware scroll to pan through the vertical tallness of the game. And it works good for a game like this because you are kind of navigating the maze a little bit, you know.
Yep.
See, I found the opposite. It took me a little bit to get used to that. It kept throwing me off. I don't know why. After a few plays, I got used to it and it was fine. But just, I guess, because I don't play games that bounce up and down like that often, I'm just not used to it.
So I think what a lot of other ports that did this and to adapt it to the 4:3 screen is they would just take the whole scoreboard up top and then to shove that off to the right-hand side where they would have the, you know, a scaled down tall maze on the left side of the screen, and on the right hand side of the screen you would have things like your number of lives and your score and stuff like that. So they kind of just partition some of the information. But
yeah, that's what Nick did with his tribute.
Yeah. But I kind of like this, that you know, this is the game, you know.
Yep.
I'm finding it kind of amazing too, the CoCo, because we've got Nick's original, you know, tribute to the game, which is done as close to the arcade as possible at the time. And you did that back in '97, I think it was. And now we have the official transcode. So we have 2 of some of the best Pac-Man clones on an 8-bit system ever done, both on the CoCo 3.
Well, we need to get John's opinion on that, because I think John might argue that an Atari 8-bit might have a better version out there or something. So.
We got the best Donkey Kong too.
I'll take Donkey King over Lancer or Buzzard Bait. So.
Oh, jeez.
Pegasus, man, all the way.
Yeah. I did look through some of the original Pac-Man games for the CoCo, and I just couldn't, with the Pac-Man transcode existing, I just couldn't.
I gotta say, an early game that I really liked even today is Pac-Tac, which was the old semi-graphics version of that one. It worked very well as far as the colors, and you had different colored ghosts and everything else, you know. That kind of iconic sound effect when you ate a ghost, so whee, the kind of squeal
and
like
that
a
terrible
pig
sound when you died.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was like nails on a chalkboard. That,
yeah, exactly,
that
exactly what I was going to say.
I liked Pac-Tac. I liked Ghost Goblin. Honestly, I don't really remember a bad Pac-Man clone. They all served a purpose and were playable.
And they all had some unique bits too. Like Pac-Tac had more, or one less ghost, I think, but it had more dots, more power pills.
Check out the eyes going around that block up there. The ghost got stuck.
Oh yeah, look at that. Hey, where am I going, man? What's going on here, man?
We have a couple pretty decent Miss Pac-Man clones too. We have Ms. Maze, which is pretty good.
Yeah, and
then one Terry
Steen did. Yeah.
What's that one called?
What is it called?
Miss Gobbler?
No, that's the Spectral one.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But it's good. It's got some interesting things to it, especially animation-wise and everything. So.
And Ghost Gobbler had that stupid warp tunnel thing that's invisible in that one spot where if you didn't hold down the joystick button, you hit the spot, you'd suddenly disappear and reappear elsewhere in the maze. Which is great if you're getting trailed by ghosts, but if you hadn't read the manual, you would be wondering what the heck is going on.
Oh, so Canadian Retro Thing saying this is where his computer started to glitch. And I was even seeing, look like some of the dots on the screen were starting to flash too. Wasn't there one where at some point in time the maze was invisible and you just saw...
That's Pac-Man Plus.
No, I'm talking about on a CoCo clone. Wasn't there a CoCo clone that had?
Yeah, there was. There's like literally. I started looking through because I mean I have that clones list on my game site, and Pac-Man's one of the ones like Defender that I've been avoiding because there's so darn many of them. It's going to take me quite a while to research.
Right.
Last time I counted, I think there's at least 13 clones of Pac-Man and Mrs.
Yeah, it's
Pac-Man.
a super popular game. What was the one that was released on a 4K cassette too? Scarfman. That's pretty good. And that one just kind of anecdote that I remember when we did our interview with Jerry Buckner from Pac-Man Fever. This was before CoCoTALK and everything. I was telling him that I had, I still had the original album, and the kind of liner notes in the album of the original Pac-Man Fever LP had patterns where you could, different patterns to do to solve the certain mazes. And Jerry's like, yeah. And this is, of course, before the whole King of Kong controversy. What's the guy's name? That
Billy Mitchell.
Billy Mitchell, yeah. So before that whole controversy, but yeah. So Jerry Buckner's like, yeah, well, I showed that thing to Billy Mitchell, and he's saying that some of those patterns are wrong. So I thought that was kind of funny, But yeah, Billy Mitchell's the guy, one of the first guys who I guess did the whole level 256.
The 256 screen wrap where half the screen goes to garbage.
Yeah, it glitches it out and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, now it's really glitching. Look at Pinky down there.
Oh yeah. So this is a hardware issue. This is not the transcodes problem.
Right. Yeah. CRT's CoCo 3 overheating.
Yeah.
And look
so the joystick thing is one thing I do want to discuss. So I guess first question for the people on the panel that played Pac-Man here, how many played it on, first of all, on a real CoCo versus on an emulator? I did.
Yeah, CoCo.
Real CoCo.
And then what joysticks did he choose? I used the Deluxe.
I used either the Sega Gamepad or Neil Blanchard's Gamester.
Ooh.
I tried the Deluxe and I just couldn't hang with it. If you were 2 bytes off on changing an angle, it wouldn't take it.
That's what I was hitting too. Like trying to take corners was literally 50% hit or miss. It wouldn't turn, and so it seemed to be really fussy on that. I ended up switching to keyboard because I couldn't even get up to the first intermission with the joystick. And normally I'm not that bad at Pac-Man. I can usually get at least 5 or 6 screens in, and I couldn't even get 3 with the joystick, and I just gave up and would switch to keyboard. Then I did.
60 used the Sega Gamepad, and Scott Cooper used the emulator with arrow keys. And Kenny Richardson is used an Atari joystick.
Atari joystick, okay.
So what I'm seeing here is that most of the people that did not have a glitching problem, not glitching, but I had a problem navigating the corners are the ones using digital sticks that always force the joystick all the way left, all the way right, all the way top, all the way bottom.
Yeah.
But for the actual analog sticks that the CoCo was designed for, that's where it's not running perfectly. And Rick and I both hit that problem.
Okay. Well, Bob and CoCo, who was on the leaderboard, says he used a CoCo 3 and Deluxe joysticks. So
Bob and CoCo, if you can just in the chat there mention, did you have problems where you couldn't navigate corners? It would just skip by the corner you were trying to turn on and stuff? Because I'm from what Rick's described, that's exactly the same problem I was having. And I tried adjusting the centering pots and stuff on the Deluxe, and none of it made any difference. It would just favor screwing up in a different direction. That's all it would do.
Rocky Hill used VCC under Wine, which is a emulation inception.
VCC is always better with wine.
Yeah, and keyboard.
Yeah.
And beer.
Rum, all the above.
I would have been.
What's that, Rick?
I would have been good with my secret weapon keyboard, except I realized I just suck at Pac-Man. Can't get you have to turn before you get to the turn to do it properly. And I just can't do that for some reason.
I can though, and I still have the same problem. Like I'd have it angled over and ready to turn, and it would just skip right by because maybe the joystick got to 3 instead of 0 or something stupid. Like it's really fussy.
The joystick was an addition to my personal problem of driving.
Yeah. So Bob and CoCo says there was a sticking, but I wasn't sure if that was the stick or something else. So he might have had an occasional. So it seems like
60 says I had that problem with digital, but nowhere near 50% fail. I think I just suck. So I don't know. Do we, if either in the chat there or on the panel, do we have anybody that played a lot of Pac-Man and did memorize the patterns back in the day? Like I know Buckets Owens had mentioned that he had, that might have gotten used to different ROM patterns and stuff. Is there any familiarity with that these patterns are legit, or did Glenn Hewlett have to do some tweaks to the main Z80 translation Z80 translation to get it to run properly that might have changed patterns subtly in the background from what the original ROMs would have done.
I don't remember any mention of that, of any compromise to algorithm or AI. I think the whole purpose of this was to, make the ROM run.
Yeah, I just think that there were so many books published about the patterns, and the patterns were so well known that it's not like the patterns are somehow, a hoax and not real.
Right.
I just think that even with the transcode, there's still going to be very small differences that could impact stuff like this, that, even at the metal level, you're still running this thing on something other than a Pac-Man board.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, if that's the biggest, for lack of a better term, complaint that we have about this, that it doesn't adhere to the original patterns.
It won't let you cheat.
But the fact that it plays, I don't see that as a huge drawback or disadvantage.
Yeah, I'm with you.
No, I don't view it either. I do know some people were saying, like, if to be a true transcode, it should be absolutely identical in play to the arcade machine. I'm just wondering.
And
it might just be a ROM difference. Again, you might have picked a ROM that most people had not played. I don't know.
And there's also there was a 1.1 patch to this as well that addressed some timing on the gimmies and the sparklies too. So I'm not sure where they're getting their source from for the actual CoCo version of this, but hopefully everybody's got the 1.1.
Actually, that's true, because the 1986 gimme and the 1987 gimme, the timer interrupt is one cycle off. Like the timer on the 86 is one slower than the 87. So if you wrote it specifically for, say, the 87, if you have 86 or vice versa, then it might be a little bit different. That's true.
Yeah. So gimme timing could affect this. I know there was just the kind of frames per second that was slightly different on the CoCo versus the real hardware too, because of how this is tied to a VSync, which is not exactly the same as whatever the timing was on the actual hardware. So I know in his blogging back in the day, he was mentioning that, if you run these two side by side, you will see that the original ends up being slightly ahead over time. It might be like 1 second every minute or whatever it is, but there's a slight variance in the timing just based on the CoCo hardware tied to the screen refresh versus whatever the timing was on the actual hardware, which might have, I don't know if that was screen locked or it was the speed based on the Z80. The speed was what it was, so there's other things that could attribute to that.
Yeah, a couple other comments here. David Krager says he watched a few YouTube vids on patterns early in the week. It worked for me on level 1, but I didn't play enough to find out more. So that's kind of pointing to at least that it matches one of the ROM sets. And then 60 says, whenever the maze appeared, my TV would spend a second or two creeping to the left. It was slightly odd, but I blame the TV. I don't. I had the same thing on my CoCo 3 on RGB.
Well, there's something that happens when he first draws the maze. He draws it twice because it gets loaded, kind of stack blast from data, and then he does like a 1 pixel shift to fix something. So the first time the screen's loaded, you see it come in, and then you see how I just like shift over by 1 pixel. So that's something I think Glenn had to do for a reason to get the compiled sprites or something to work better on the screen. So it gets loaded directly like it was in the ROM, and then he does something to shift it. So that's why you'll see that 1 pixel shift one time or another.
Yeah, which I just saw basically every time you started.
Yeah. So I just these are just I'm having flashbacks.
So it's not your TV 60. It's that's part of the game.
And Glenn Hewlett emailed me recently, and I forgot to get back to him. So I'm not sure if you're out there, Glenn, but thanks for your email. I appreciate that. He was trying to give me some encouragement with assembly, which I appreciate that. If anybody knows assembly at this point, it's definitely Glenn Hewlett. So.
And Stevie, since I don't think you finished watching last week's episode, one of the news items was that he discovered he's working on a Joust transcode. And a lot of the Williams games have this not quite self-modifying code, but self-checking code to make sure it wasn't a pirated ROM.
Oh, interesting.
And he thought he'd got it in Joust, like he fixed 1 or 2 of them, but then the game would just randomly crash at random intervals. So he started really looking into it and discovered there's 3 or 4 levels of this check.
Okay.
And remember, he was having problems with the Defender transcode. He got up to a certain point and then just randomly crashes. He thinks he didn't maybe go deep enough. And he might have to go back and visit that, which if that is the case, that means we might have Joust and Defender transcodes coming out soon.
Wow. That would be cool. That would be cool. And those should hopefully fit on screen where you don't have to worry about doing the vertical panning and stuff.
Yeah, and they should be a little bit easier to transcode too, because they're both 6809 based games.
Yeah, so I think the standard resolution on most of that stuff was like 320 by 240, and I think we can get a maximum of 225. So you might have to do the Sockmaster thing where he did on Donkey Kong to compromise.
Yeah, so they
15
compress the
pixels.
ladders and
Yeah.
stuff to fit it.
But no, that would be interesting.
But it's really cool. I mean, we've actually got a few transcodes now because I mean, Glenn's done a couple. He's done
Right. We have the few that were done.
We have a Space Invaders one. I think he
Space
did. Mark
Invaders,
McDougall did some.
Mark McDougall, Night Lore, which was transferred over from the, I think, the Spectrum. He also did. He took the original Load Runner from the Apple II.
Yeah, transcoded that. He's working on an Asteroids from the arcade.
Yeah.
There was a start on Tutankhamun that it's
I
you
think
can
that
actually
was
play
Mark
it,
II.
but it doesn't scroll. Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get quite that far. Now we got Joust and Defender on the way too. So I mean, if everything works out, we might end up with like half a dozen, complete transcodes. It's like Coco MAME almost.
Yeah. Right.
No kidding.
All right. That
Let's
would
you
be
do
cool.
that in the Atari there, boat. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, this
Atari's-
is not the Smackdown the Atari episode. Okay? It's because you guys get all the cool transcodes. Just because it's development heaven over there. Come on, man.
Yeah, Atari's got a pokey chip and real sprites. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
We don't need transcodes. We got
I know
good
why they
ports.
named it Pokey now. It can't keep up with the transcodes. But
Oh,
You might have a
listen.
point there.
this is like the old 80s when you just had to argue, like, why
Right.
your platform was better. It's
Yeah,
kind of fun.
yeah. Well, actually,
Yeah. Well, because of the SAM chip. And,
cool. Anything else we need to say about Pac-Man at this point?
Great game. Go get it if
Go
you
get
want
it.
to play a
Very
arcade
impressive
authentic.
feat.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Glenn Hewlett, for this and for all you've done and what you will continue to do for us.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on his blog because he does post stuff on there every once in a while, like the fact about the Joust self-ROM check and the fact that might be affecting the Defender port he was trying to do too. So
All right, so we ready to talk about next week's game?
The suspense is killing me, Nick Marotta.
All right. The next game. This is another port
Uh-oh.
for the CoCo 2.
Is it the Becker port?
Yeah.
Oh,
Baggett Man.
Les Bagnard.
Baggett Man.
by
Baggett Man.
coincidence, if you were watching Frodo and Elstream, who we were co-streaming with before we started the show here, he actually was playing the Bagman version of the Spectrum on the Spectrum.
Oh, neat. So yes, Baggett Man. You have to collect the bags of gold and put it on your little wheelbarrow, which is at the top. You're this guy down here, the convict.
Right.
And avoid
You get to
these
ride the rail
guys.
cars.
Yeah, you can hit them with the hammer. You can drop bags of gold on them. And it's 3 screens wide. So you pan to the left or to the right. I
Does
should
it
say.
actually scroll or does it just flip screens? As
It
you
just
go?
flips.
It
It
flips
flips
screens. Right.
screens.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I think the arcade did too, if I remember.
Yep.
Didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This was a good clone for the Coco.
yeah, I thought so. Another of the games I spent a good chunk of time with as a kid. So
And one thing I'll mention too, Nick, if you go
Yep.
back to the second screen, that blue bag of gold that you have to dig through the wall to get to is very laden with gold and very heavy. So you move really slowly when you pick that one up because it's so heavy.
ah,
Now, can you? You can carry gold while you're climbing the ladder, right?
yes.
Yes, just
And
slowly.
can you grab onto the handrail and jump up above the cart when you're carrying gold too?
I think you have to drop the gold to do that, don't you?
I
I
think
don't
so.
remember. I
think so because it's the button that you do. You press the button, so when you press the button, it's going to drop the gold.
All right. So if you notice on the screen those kind of white things in the ceiling, that's a handrail. So if a mine cart's coming towards you, you grab the handrail and kind of lifts your legs in the air, and the cart goes underneath you. That's how you dodge those things. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
or you click the button and jump into the rail car and it'll
Oh yeah, and you
transport
could ride it too. Yeah, it's been so long since I played, but yeah, I remember this game being a fun game back in the day.
Yeah.
And you've got that elevator like you can see on the top center there too.
Yeah, yeah, and this definitely captures most of the game mechanics and the look and feel of the original.
Yeah, the gameplay is quite good. The graphics aren't too bad. It looks a little blocky. That was just as a design aesthetic he decided to use. And I think the original arcade game is a little bit blocky too, if I remember, for pieces
Yeah.
of it. The only thing really missing from the arcade game is some of the better sound, but that's it. I
music.
mean, gameplay wise, it's great.
Yeah. All right.
Excellent.
So-
How's the Atari version, Boat?
It's the Bagman is not bad on the Atari. So
Yeah, I actually, be honest, I think it's probably better than the Coco one.
yeah, it's not bad.
All
Oh,
right. So thanks, Stevie. Thank you, CRT. Thank you to everybody who played this week, and we'll see you next week.
that's right. Thank you, Nick Marotta, for handling this segment, and that is also echoed by Dave, Mr. Dave 609, saying thank you, Nico, for your work. on this each week.
Oh.
So,
And I see Sixty says, "Oh, I've tried this a few times and it was really bad." So I'm sensing a theme with Sixty that he sucks at all games. As well.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's participating and actually trying.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are.
It's not about who's the best at the game. It's about having fun and especially discovering games you may have never played before back in the day or in modern times.
Exactly.
It's all about that participation thing, man.
And if it's one of Nick's games, he thanks you for the money that.
Okay, so do you want to just jump in and just go on to Game On News, L. Curtis Boyle?
Yes, I think I'm trying to remember if that's where I have the one we're waiting for Tim Lidner, but he's not going to be on.
Oh, okay. Then you want to just do news?
Let me just check though. I can't remember if that was in the regular news or if that was in the Game On News. Let me find it here. Yes, that is in the Game On News. I can hold that one story off. It's number 3.
Okay, or we could take a break from news and no. But did you say you wanted to do your updates and acquisition later too?
Yeah, because I'm gonna have to boot up a virtual machine.
So then, how about we do news first, and then we'll do Game On News.
Can do that.
Okay, so let me go ahead and I'll cue the intro. You can go ahead and start screen sharing, and when I say take it away, Curtis, you're not going to hear the sounds, but you'll know. All right, so here we go. Cue infographic.
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
And take it away, L. Curtis Boyle.
Okay, are you guys seeing the screen?
Wait a second. What is this? A bunch of old guys getting together on a video call? Who would watch that
Yeah, it
crap?
almost looks like CoCoTALK, doesn't it?
Who would watch something stupid like that? Who are these people? Let me see if
Actually,
I recognize names.
Bo will recognize the one on the top row, third from the left, I'm sure.
I recognize Peter Satinsky. I don't know who Eric is or Josh. Timothy Holloran. There you go. Hey, Timothy. George Phillips, recognize his name. Do not recognize Quentin Barnes or Hugh. Peter Phillips. John. Ken. Paul. Okay. Patrick B. Vernon. Bartlett Labs. Okay, I recognize a few of the people on there.
Yeah, and Boat, you should recognize Josh, of course.
Yeah,
he's a
48K RAM,
shows,
absolutely.
He's streaming on Amigos too. So
yeah,
cool.
He's your local Atari guy too, isn't he?
That's right. He's my one friend.
At any rate, the Trash Talkers, of course, they do their live show, I think once a month, if I remember correctly. So this is the one that was streamed live last, is it on Saturday or Sunday? But basically, it's a little bit after CoCoTALK. And normally it's quite heavy on the model 1, 2, 3, 16, 12, 4, that type of thing. But they occasionally throw in some CoCo stuff. And I know Nick and I and a few others have actually been on there a few times too, when we've had stuff to announce. So in this case, now you said you're familiar with Bartlett Labs. I don't know him too well.
That's Paul Bartlett. Yeah, I've met him at Tandy Assembly. I haven't listened to Trash Talk a lot, but he's one of the 3 main guys of the show, right? So Paul, is it Peter Bartlett or Paul Bartlett? I don't remember. Yeah. But yeah, he makes mostly stuff for the Z80 TRS-80 line. But I remember at the first Tandy Assembly, he had actually had a prototype board of a cartridge that would provide VGA output on the CoCo because it snooped the DAC and was seeing things, and he was able to mimic some of those modes, similar to how he does for the TRS-80, where he's got a VGA adapter that just snoops video RAM and blasts it out to a VGA board. He was working on a prototype. This was before he knew about CoCo VGA, and he wasn't familiar with artifacting and things like that, but he had come up with something. So he does a lot of hardware stuff, mostly on the TRS-80 side. He's like one of the 3 main panelists so it's Peter Satinsky and Ian Maverick. I think, I don't remember if it's Peter or Paul Bartlett, and then...
it's Peter.
Yeah, Peter Bartlett, and then trying to remember.
So actually, speaking of VGA, that project you're talking about, apparently he's still been working on it. In fact, he said he's been doing more CoCo stuff than regular Tier City Model 1.3 stuff these days, and he's expanded it with some extra features and stuff. And he's one of these guys who's admitting he's got a terrible problem with feature creep.
Oh yeah.
So this is what he actually ended up talking about on his segment of Trash Talk, and since that's the CoCo specific part of the show, I'll just play that whole little segment, so a couple minutes long.
Okay.
If you're into CoCos,
and who wouldn't be?
Which I'm becoming more and more of a CoCo guy. Which I never had one growing up, but there's this thing, which boots CoCo 1, CoCo 2, CoCo 3, HDBDOS. You just flip the switches and take your pick. It's got SD hard drives. It's got Ethernet. It's got VGA.
Is it a whole system board?
Neil was pretty.
No, actually, it's going to go in the cartridge port. The whole that
2019 at the last CoCo Fest, and it's pretty cool. It's just, I don't know when to stop. Is the problem. I'm just adding more and more stuff to it.
But do you have to open the CoCo?
Oh, that's
or
Maverick.
just plug
There,
in?
Maverick,
yeah.
Pardon?
Do you have to open the CoCo, or does it just plug in the side?
This just plugs in.
I think fair few people who don't really want to open their computers might be interested in that, because most of the CoCo upgrades out there require you to flip the lid and start messing around inside.
Well, there's advantages and disadvantages to this. The disadvantage is that it has no access to the vertical sync signal, so certain games, certain cartridges don't work right because they do their updating of the screen during the vertical blanking, and this thing has no way of knowing when that's happening. And so the two games I've noticed so far that have problems are Slinkster and anyway, there's one other. It works fine for 95% of games and cartridges, but it can't tell when vertical sync is happening, so it gets a little iffy. But TA 2019, people were pretty enamored with this thing. And I haven't touched it since.
That would really sell, Pete. But then you'd have more customers, and that would be bad.
Yeah, Malcolm, Malcolm. He keeps trying to get me to just release the VGA part of it, just as a product. But, if you've seen my's and me's, I don't know where to stop. I just don't. I just keep adding stuff. And, the only application I've written for this for the Ethernet is Telnet, and Neil was pretty impressed with that at TA 2019.
Did you see that demo, Stevie?
No, I didn't go to that one. I only went to the first TA.
Floppy controller.
A lot of stuff on that board.
Built in.
Will the eventual released one be that size or reduced in size?
No. I have no idea what the physical form of this thing is going to be, because I'm not a CoCo guy. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, well, I'll give you a hint. Take a standard CoCo disc controller and make it about the same size, and it'll be a hit.
Yeah, it could be done. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on here, but it could be done.
Cool. What about on the monochrome systems? Or are you just building Mises and Misers and spitting them out?
Yeah, it really.
Anyway, that was covering it. But yeah, he's basically got an SD hard drive / floppy controller. He's got Ethernet on it. He's got a floppy controller on board. He mentions a little bit later, and a switch bootable CoCo 1, 2, 3 HDBDOS, and it has the VGA out all in one card, which he did say a little bit later that he might be able to shrink down to fit on a more disc controller size cartridge. So,
I mean, it's interesting and it's promising, but I think my only concern is somebody who doesn't own CoCos and is not really a primary CoCo person. I just think there's certain things they're not going to be used to or aware of. So unless this is being tested by more than just him on things, I have a feeling it might have some shortcomings.
Well, like he's mentioned the V-Sync, like certain games that try to time with the V-Sync aren't going to work. But the nice thing about this being a cartridge means if you do want to play one of those games, you can just shut the computer off, unplug the cartridge, and then
right.
Whereas if you modified the inside, you can't do VSync anymore. That's a totally different story. That's bad.
And I recognize George Phillips too. I remember he had done something at Tandy Assembly where he had a video player that played on the TRS-80 Model 1 and 3, where it actually played like digitized video. That looked pretty cool. No, I mean it's interesting, and I know he makes for the systems he knows very well. He makes really cool hardware. I would just be concerned, like, luckily I don't need any of this stuff, but I would be concerned if somebody went through all the trouble to make something, but just really wasn't aware of all the finer minutia, and that product had a few holes in it somewhere, and so that would be just my concern, that, make sure you really throw this thing out there and have it field tested before you release it.
Well, I don't think he's even at the stage of having field testing going there. Because he's still got to write software to do it. I mean, he's got a telnet client that works with the Ethernet.
Right, and if he's doing an SD solution, but we already have a CoCo SDC, so how is he going to implement that? How is it going to work in DOS? And you have to worry about standards and things like that. So it's great, and when it comes to doing stuff, everybody's welcome to do what they want. But if you want to mass production is probably an overkill statement, but if you want to sell, even to a market of 100 products, 100 units, it really should be be fairly compatible with things we're used to.
And there's a question from Pilot 0352 in the chat. Does it work with a multi-pack? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
all being prototyped. So. Yeah, I remember when he showed off the early VGA one, he was doing it on a Y cable even, where it was just working off of the cartridge slot. So I would imagine if it's using the cartridge bus, that it should be multi-pack compatible.
It's an interesting project at any rate, but
it's almost sounding like the super board,
but a super board that doesn't require to open the case up.
Yeah. So like what Ian Maverick was saying, that there are some people who don't know how to or don't want to open their case or work on their case, and that's good to have a plug and play solution for sure. But I think the CoCo VGA does such a good job that that's a product that for the CoCo 1 and 2, that's kind of a holy grail, and it doesn't really require a whole lot of desoldering or anything. It just goes in line with your VDG, so it's not a terribly hard.
Same with the Gimme X too, because that just plugs in the X socket.
So anything else that's going to, I don't want to say compete, but be in the same space as that, if it's not going to be as feature rich, I'm not sure that it's a good thing to buy. But if you add everything else, like networking and this and that and the other, then maybe that makes up for it. But
Plus, I'd be interested, once all that stuff's on there, what is this going to cost?
No, but it's cool that there's other people out there who are working on stuff. Like we continue to have new people come in and want to make hardware projects. So I would definitely not want to discourage that. I would just hate to see a lot of time and energy spent and it ends up being in this weird place where it's not going to, I'd hate to have him waste his time on something that wouldn't really take off because it's not enough of this or not enough of that and things like that, Yeah. Grant Leedy's out there. Hey, Grant, how you doing? Happy 4th of July weekend to you, sir. Now, that's cool. Glad to see that they got their things going. And see, these are a lot of faces I'm not used to seeing all the time, so that's always good to see other people talking about stuff out there.
Yeah. Next up this week, the latest episode of the CoCo Crew, episode 73, dropped, which includes a couple things I wanted to highlight here. Of course, Ron DeVoe got his video covered on CoCoMax, so I had to put that in there. Host discussion was on CoCo Mania, so actually it sounds like they want to do a bit more CoCo specific attendee assembly this year. They want to kind of make that the main thrust of the show, at least as far as the hosts of the CoCo Crew are concerned. They want to make a kind of a CoCo section that's a bit more emboldened and upfront this year. So I thought that was kind of interesting to have a discussion on that. The tech segment on CoCo 1 versus 2 detection was kind of interesting. There's not too much differences between the two that you'd need to detect it, except I guess drive wire, for example, in the CoCo 1, because of the differences of some of the internal circuitry. You can only run up to 38,400 baud on the bit banger for drive wire, whereas on CoCo 2, with slightly improved hardware in it, you can actually run up to 57.6, so that you could actually make an auto detect for that here, using what he talks about. That's John's tech segment. They had an interview with Torsten Dettel, which was actually really cool. Because I've never really interviewed him before. We've seen him, talking to him on the listserv, et cetera. And he actually has been, doing some stuff that he's been helping, push this Dragon special. We'll be talking about it a bit later on the news too. So, and then Neil's Corner, he had an eBay rant about managed payments, which he's not too happy with. So I'm imagining there's a few resellers in here, and eBay's been changing a few policies lately. They're probably not too happy with some of the changes being done. I'm not an eBay guy, so I don't know too much about it, but I think you guys have hit some of that stuff.
But if Neil Blanchard is gotten upset over something, it's got to be a real problem, because Neil seems like such the most easygoing guy. He's a laid back, mellow kind of guy. So for him to get in a tizzy, it's got to be something.
It's so bad that a Canadian got upset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Torsten, because Torsten, and by the way, thanks for watching our show too, Torsten. He had put a lot of feedback in our Discord about when you guys were talking to Stefan and the presence of the CoCo in Germany. When I saw,
he's the one who helped organize that.
Yeah. But when I saw that information that he had laid out, I'm like, oh man, we got to really talk to this guy. So, which we still do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that interview, and then hopefully we can get him to come on the show too.
I'm hoping to have him as part of the Dragon special. Like I said, we'll talk about that.
Excellent.
We'll talk about some of the upcoming shows. But
yeah.
Anyway, the latest episode's out there, so go grab it. Next up, and actually this is something you can personally speak to a bit here, Stevie, the CocoPi. So Ron has announced that the latest version of the CocoPi, which should be a universal image that will work on the Pi 3, the Pi 4, and the Pi 400, because currently, in its current state, you have to download a specific version for each bit of hardware. You've been helping him debug and test this, so if you want to give kind of a status update, because it's not quite out yet.
Yeah. So we'll start by, in a lot of his stuff is already explained in his post, but prior to this build, there was two different images. You needed either a specific image for the Pi 3 and then a different image for the Pi 4/Pi 400. So the fact that he had to maintain two separate images and distributions was the goal was to have one, right? The Holy Grail. Part of it is it's no longer using Raspbian, which was the default Raspberry Pi OS. There's now, I think it's called Raspberry Pi OS, but so it's got the newer version of the default Raspberry Pi OS that's no longer called Raspbian at its core. I believe that new update has an improved version of the Pulse audio driver, which is kind of the way Unix does audio, and I think it's got an improved version of the SDL driver, if I'm saying that right. I don't remember what Unix uses to generate graphics. It's not like OpenGL or like ActiveX or DirectX. I think it's called SDL. It's the kind of the way the Mac and Linux pump 2D graphics on the screen. So there's an updated version of that driver that's supposed to be more optimized and runs a little faster. And so the goal is you have one image, you burn that image, and then you just run the online update, and it configures it to whatever hardware you have. And all the online updating parts work really well. So as I've been playing with it and we've been having to change a few things, I would just go to the menu option, pull the GitHub, and I'd get the new download, and it would start to update things. I've found a few issues with MAME, and this has to do with the latest MAME distribution, because MAME did an update and they have now changed the way certain things work. And right now, like I was trying to test cartridges, and the way the command line to launch the script to run a cartridge is different. So whatever that new format is, he's going to have to update his scripts. SDL is one way, is what Rocky Hill is saying. Yeah, so I guess that was called SDL. So so that's being worked on. And also there's like some minor permissions issues right now, trying to get to one of the folders where you download your Ultimate SDC images to. So, but it's very promising. I'm running it on both a Pi 3 and a Pi 4, so I'm kind of bouncing between the machines and just finding the things that have issues, and we're getting them tweaked. But I would say, I don't want to, since Ron's doing all the work, I don't want to make, guesstimate on his deadlines, but I would say the work he has to do shouldn't be too much. So it's probably realistic that there might be an official release this month in July. Don't hold me to that. That's me speculating, but I think we're really close to the finish line. The one thing I can do, and works very well, is I can boot up to an emulated MC10 with the MCX 128 emulation and load software over the Pi drive wire. So if you wanted to play around with like the 10,000 Jim Gerrie games that are out there, you can boot up an MC10 with that MC server, which is kind of like the MC10's version of DriveWire, load something and run it, and it works out of the box. So that's really cool to be able to do that and emulate up to 128K of RAM on a MC10. Lots of DriveWire stuff going on there, all kinds of stuff. If you're running a Pi 4 or Pi 400, you can turn on X Windows and have a nice GUI desktop and run other things, and there'll be a few other programs running on there that will support graphics. Because this can support the X Windows and the graphics thing, you can run MAME with the debugger if that's something you need to do. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, a few things that I'm aware of, and I'm really.
You also mentioned there was an update to the Raspberry Pi OS.
Yeah,
whatever it's
yeah,
called
the core OS.
The keyboard problem with the 400s fixed, because that was an issue. I know some of the Amigos fans on their Discord had mentioned that they were having problems trying to get CocoPi and stuff running on it because it was not reading the keyboard properly.
Yeah. And another thing too that I had noticed, and this is just because I'm really good at breaking things. Like I like to get into MAME and tweak and remap the, joysticks to do things. And so I had done a video a long time ago how to turn like a CoCo MAME emulator into a game console where you could do everything from your joystick and never need to touch your keyboard. But the problem with MAME, and this is a MAME problem, this is not Raspberry Pi or Ron Klein or anything else. MAME's way of configuring the interface has one minor flaw where you can actually lock yourself out of the interface. So if you're trying to reconfigure, in MAME you hit tab to bring up the menu and escape to get out.
Yeah, I've done that before many a time.
Yeah. So that's a MAME effery that they have done. They have created this scenario where you can literally delete the key that you need to get out of the interface or get into the interface and never have it work again, right?
It's like corrupting your own BIOS.
Yeah.
Update.
So because of that, he already had an option where you could back up and restore MAME configs, but I said, let's do one better. Let's have a pre-backup already in place, and let's even have a restore to default option in place. So if you screw yourself out of MAME, in your utilities menu, there will be a MAME restore defaults option where you can just throw back the original configs and start over again. And to me, that's a huge thing because I will screw up MAME in a heartbeat just trying to remap my joystick on it, So that was one of my contributions to say, let's do that. Let's add a restore to default option. I had also noticed that the utility menu had we're getting close to 60 items on the utility menu now, and you're scrolling through about 10 or 12 things at a time. So I'm like, dude, let's make some sub menus, break this down because there's this menu is like 10 pages tall at this point. So the utilities menu is a little bit more organized and compartmentalized now too. So, but other than that, Ron's doing all the hard work, and I'm just breaking stuff. So
you're taking the role of David Ladd.
The role of David Ladd today will be played by.
Now, I wish the people at MAME itself would actually fix it so there's a default config that you can always fall back to.
Yeah, and why MAME has to break things? Like, why does an update now completely change the command line syntax? Certain truths should be self-evident and not change on us. And why that happens is I don't know. So, but anyways, that's my 2 cents about that.
Cool. Because I do know, like I mentioned before, there's quite a few discussions in the Discord, the amigos there, from people trying to get, who had Pi 400s, and were trying to get the CocoPi to run on it, and a lot of them, couldn't type, and everything else was happening. So, and a few other problems that were happening too.
Yeah,
so.
And I'm just going to throw out for me my personal preference on what I plan to do is I'm hoping to do as much Coco stuff on the CocoPi versus real hardware. And that's just personal preference. So once the few of these little things are worked out, I hope to become a little bit more active in playing games and doing this and doing that with my CocoPi. I have the real hardware, but it's just the space and all the accoutrements you need to hook them up to be able to capture them and use them and stuff. It becomes a process, And what I love about the Raspberry Pi is it's a little tiny box. I can hide it away and do everything wirelessly, wireless keyboard, wireless joystick, and boom. You can do it. So I'm looking forward to doing more and more Coco stuff on the Pi.
Yeah, because I think the Raspberry Pi, the series of machines like that, and also the Mister, which I think John's familiar with, is another one where you can just set it up and go, and it's nice and easy, and you don't have to set up the original hardware and find a monitor that's compatible and everything else.
Yeah, both of those are great solutions. I prefer the Mister just because it's even easier to use than the Pi. The Mister is more expensive though. I mean, it's 3 or 4 times as much as a Raspberry Pi, so you've got to take that under consideration. But once you make that initial investment, the Roger Taylor CoCo 3 core is like manna from heaven. It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah, and still actively developed. And there's a secondary CoCo 1 and 2 core with Dave Shadoff in our Discord's one of the people helping work with that. So there's a couple alternate cores too, and that's a free one.
Yeah.
Right, and once you have that Mister, you can load a plethora of cores from other systems too, right?
And it's as easy. I mean, it's literally 4 keystrokes to get out of the CoCo and get into the MSX or the BBC Micro. If you're a fan of retro 80s computers, the Mister is the greatest thing ever because it's seamless. Like Curtis said, all of the cores are actively developed. People are really passionate. I would say the people on the Pi side aren't passionate, but I feel like because the Mister is is more of a niche device. The people that are into it are real into it, and things are getting better all the time on that.
Yeah. Well, you and Aaron both have one, and I know Frodo does all of his streams based on Mister, no matter what platform he's covering. If he's doing a Super NES or TurboGrafx or a CoCo or
and of course
Speccy.
there's also the thing, and I, to me this is sort of like an audiophile style argument, but people say that because it is actually it's emulating the hardware rather than the software, you're going to get more cycle accurate emulation and stuff like that. I've never seen a big difference between a Pi and a Mister, but for people that really get into like measuring milliseconds and stuff like that, they say it's more accurate.
We have a question in the live chat about where is there a link to find out about this Mister. I don't know. Is there a general organizational website for that MIST platform? Or
let me look up one real quick and then I'll give it to you.
Yeah. There was one that was originally called the MIST, right? M-I-S-T.
Right.
And that was originally developed mostly to do FPGA hardware emulation of the Atari ST. That's where the ST and MIST came from, right?
It was originally supposed to be an ST and Amiga
emulator.
Right. And the Mister is just an updated board that it came out. It was cheaper. It created less heat. And it was actually subsidized by Intel, so it was very cheap at the beginning. It's not quite as cheap as it used to be. I think it was for forever and ever. It was like $150, and now it's closer to $200. But if you just MrFPGA.org is probably the best place to go. That's
type that in the chat.
Yeah, like I said, it's basically what you do. It's different than a Pi. It's different than emulating on your PC, because when you switch between systems, you're actually switching between cores. And each core, when you load up a core, it's literally like you're loading up the machine. It's emulating the hardware of the machine. And so it loads the BIOS and everything. But for me, it's just super convenient because everything is all of the menus and everything are extremely easy to use. Like the display when you switch cores and switch games, everything is text based, everything is keyboard based. You can zip around this thing like none other.
Okay.
And so like I said, if you're into old computers and you've got $200 to spend, instead of buying your third BBC Micro or ZX Spectrum plus 3, maybe consider getting a Mister and getting everything all in one little package. I mean, it's right here. This is as big as it is right here.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, thanks for clearing that up for us.
And thanks for posting the link there, Steve, too.
And I mean, and so there's no wrong way to retro. Like, there's no wrong way to CoCo. No. You can do it. Software emulation, hardware emulation. Part of it's going to be preference. Part of it's going to be our comfort zones or our budgets or whatever else it is. And so I would never be in a situation where I'd want to shame somebody into, you're not doing it the way I think is acceptable or not. I'm just telling you from my personal preference. I'm very fortunate, knock on wood, that I've got a couple of real CoCos, and I spent many years recording and streaming from real hardware, and at some point in time I just got to the point where I've just got so much crap all over my desk, and I've got all these connectors, and I got all these things. There's got to be an easier way, and for me right now, that easy way is MAME or XOR or whatever, So the CoCoPi that has all these things in here is an easy way to do most of what I need to do recreationally. It works for me.
Definitely being used for the same purpose.
And the nice thing about the CoCoPi is there are people who are not comfortable even setting up an emulator, because some emulators need a few steps. Like VCC, luckily, it's plug and play. You install it, it runs. But MAME, you've got to do a few things, then you've got to download ROMs. You got to do a few things like that. And even XOR, you've got to download the ROMs. It's not terribly difficult, but some people are not even end user savvy enough to want to break out of their shell to try to set up an emulator. So with CoCoPi, it's all menu driven. The emulators are pre-installed. You download your ROMs by going to a menu. You download your software by going to a menu, and once it's there, it's all keyboard and menu driven. So it takes a lot of the confusion and mystery and frustration out of running an emulator. So I like the way, similar to what you're saying, John, with the Mister, how it's pretty simple. I think CoCoPi does that too. It takes the technical challenges out of running emulators. They're just there. You know?
Yeah, I'm all about finding, especially for people that just don't have a lot of room or a lot of time to futz around with things, you know, finding the most streamlined solution just so you can get into doing whatever you want to do, whether it's programming or playing games. Once you find that solution, you'll want to do it more because it's less of a headache to get going.
Right.
Yeah. I will mention there's one slight advantage that I see on the Pi versus the Mister, and that's the fact that you can pull Nitrous 9 EOU automatically down from
Yeah.
We need that on the Mister yet. That's one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
heard that lots of people have been complaining about that, Curtis.
Yes.
Nonstop.
Yeah, I know. I just hundreds of emails a day.
But that is a nice feature. And like I say, as I was working with Ron on testing things and tweaking things, the GitHub auto update feature is great. You can update MAME online. Because different versions of MAMEs have subtle nuances, you can go to a menu and you can roll back to an older version of MAME. It'll keep in different folders the various distributions. So you can choose your default version of MAME in XROAR in the Pi. You can download Nitrous 9 over the air and get it, the latest version, and run it. You can download...
and what else, honestly, would you want to do?
Yeah, really. But I was going to say, there is also Fuzix and YaDOS that you can get. There's an RGB-DOS image, or you can boot up and switch between like 256 different floppy disks and run software that way. And there's just tons of stuff on this thing, which is why you need a pretty big SD card. You expect to have at least a 32 gig SD card, and I would even suggest a 64.
As big as you can afford.
As big as you can afford, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for the update, Stevie, and hopefully Ron will have that version out in July.
Yeah.
So that people can actually get the upgrade and have a fully, cross Pi 3, Pi 4, Pi 400.
Ron is highly responsive. If you send him a message in Discord, he does get back. So for people who have questions about CocoPi in general, he's a very great resource and he's very responsive.
And we have a channel devoted to the CocoPi. Do we have a channel for the Mister? I think we do too, don't we?
I'd be surprised.
There's
if we
so many
didn't.
channels I've totally lost track. I don't even know if I'm on the Coco one or the Amigos one at a first glance anymore. Because there's too many channels.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Next up, we have Richard Kelly, who's done a few game updates and stuff lately that he's programmed and put up. So in this case, he's got Retro Rick's maze making algorithm version 3.99D. So he's optimized it a little bit. It's got a graphic and a text version, and basically just auto generates a maze to wander through type thing. But you can then use in your own games if you want to make a maze game and you don't want to actually plan all the mazes out. So it's a little bit optimized, a little bit faster, takes a little bit less RAM, etc. And you can download both versions off that disk, and he's pretty close to his final release. This is probably one of the last betas.
Neat. That's a guy I'd love to get on the show. He does so much stuff.
Yeah. Next up, Tony Jewell posted on the Facebook Coco group about asking how to convert a PAL-M version of the CP400, which is a Brazilian Coco clone, to run on NTSC. Now, that's not really news on its own, but he put up one of the best photos I've seen of the two different generations of the Coco clones of the CP400.
Cool. Look at that.
So you've got the CP400 color in the front with the old chiclet style keyboard like the Coco one. Then you got the color 2 in the back, which has a more keyboard, modern style version.
Yeah.
Of it.
Okay. Hold on. What are these things?
These are Brazilian clones of the Coco one and the Coco 2.
Oh my gosh, I need to have that one with the multicolored keys.
Yeah, that's like Ed Snyder's got his work cut out for him here on this one, right? So
are these incredibly rare?
They're probably highly uncommon.
Yeah,
because they're from Brazil.
We actually interviewed some of the people from Brazil because they have their own little mini Coco Fest in Brazil, and basically Brazil did not have real copyright laws, so they were allowed to clone whatever the hell they wanted, and then nobody could come after them because the government would say, "Yeah, that's fine, go ahead." So they cloned a lot of machines. In fact, they have a version of their Timex Sinclair clone that looks almost exactly the same case as this, with a slightly different keyboard, maybe some very other minor things, but same shape, same color, same size. So they made a ton of clones. It wasn't just Coco's. And they were pretty popular in Brazil because you got to pay the clone prices. You didn't have to pay for the original prices, and you'd have to pay shipping to get all these machines from the UK.
There was no licensing, whatever, so they were just completely ripping off the ROMs.
Yeah, they were ripping. Yeah, everything was the hardware design and the ROMs were all just ripped off, and the way they went, so they were cheap. But that was
it's crazy. The Brazilian gaming scene is just endlessly fascinating because they had a huge Odyssey 2 scene too. And there were Odyssey 2 games that were exclusive to the Brazilian market. Like Popeye was exclusive to the Brazilian market. So
interesting.
Pretty crazy. You wouldn't think that out of Brazil, but
was Olive Oil wearing a thong?
It's hard to tell. Most of
Could you tell she was a Brazilian? Yeah.
Most of the characters in Popeye for the Odyssey 2 are sort of indistinguishable. So.
Yeah, right. So
that's true. But yeah, this is one of the best photos I've seen to actually compare the two here. So
yeah,
that's the main reason I threw it.
I love those multicolored chiclet keys.
It's very pet-like.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean,
But I have to say, the arrow keys look like almost like they're hand drawn.
Yeah,
the green ones.
Yeah. That's true. It's not as perfectly.
I wonder if that was a later edition or they were worn out because that's the QAOP of the I bet those were used a lot because in gaming that's probably what you used, right?
Everything's in italics, even the arrows.
Yeah, that's true. Ken Reichert says instead of catching hearts, it was catching wax. That's a Brazilian wax joke there for you.
Nice.
So yeah, that's good. And that top keyboard looks kind of like what you'd see on a laptop today, or that kind of looks like an Apple IIc.
Apple
keyboard.
IIc.
Yeah. But it's cool.
Yeah, and the arrow keys are in a different place than either the CoCo 3 or the CoCo 1 and 2 because they've actually got the up and down arrows left of the space bar and the right and left are on the right of the space bar, which actually is not a hugely bad layout.
I mean, it's very reminiscent of the ZX Spectrum because in the ZX Spectrum you use the QAOP for up, down, left, right, and what they've done is they basically just added extra keys beside those keys to function as in the same way.
Yeah,
so.
QAOP.
And just for both here, I'll show you the version of the Spectrum. Notice any similarities?
Yeah. It's the same damn shell. Yeah.
Right. Man, those are beautiful machines. I love those things.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad when you get an illegal clone that actually looks better than the original machine.
Heck yeah, you're not wrong, Curtis.
Can't wait to see.
Anyway, pretty fascinating stuff. I don't know when they're planning on the next. I mean, Brazil's going through hugely bad COVID and has been for months now. I mean, they're the worst country on earth as far as proportional population. But once they come out of it, and they get another one of their fests going again, we're gonna have to see if we can get a live stream from them to kind of go over because they were playing some of the games where they've translated the text in the games over to the native language and stuff too. And they, as you said, both they've got some unique games they wrote on their own. Yeah. Plus, isn't Erico from there too?
Yeah, Erico was in Brazil,
and he's been doing all these low res like karate style games and stuff too. Like he's an absolute brilliant master of semi graphics. This next one's another one Steve you can talk about. So the is this now a quarterly publication? Is that generally the?
It's other than the one time I missed one quarter, it's always been a quarterly publication. So yes. 2020, we only had 3 instead of 4, and that was my bad. But I made up for it in December.
Because I know you've been getting a lot of praise now that the newsletter used to be a black and white, and I've got a ton of them back here from the 80s and stuff when I used to pick them up at Rainbow Fest. But now it's become a full color, much more modernized looking thing, and it's gotten a lot bigger. So now you're at the point where you're doing like 60 pages an issue. It's almost a magazine unto itself.
Yeah, and that was kind of so. Answer is yes, that is true. So the history, so here's a nice color cover, right? And I added the volume 41 number 2. I added that this month in this issue. I added that this month. So I thought okay, yeah. I stole that pixel art off the internet. Somebody on what's that damn thing called? Pinterest. Yeah. So I found this on Pinterest. Oh, this is a cool looking pixely summertime picture. So yeah, thank you, random person on Pinterest that I stole this from. But yeah, so when I took it over, I was kind of like, I would like to add a splash of color here and there, and I would like to raise the aesthetical bar a little bit. Number one, I don't have super great design skills. I'm not a public graphics designer or anything like that, but I just thought there's some things we could do, and slowly it's been getting a little bit more colorful and whatnot. But what I really need to do is I need to make sure I give all the credit in the world for the reason why this is 60 pages. And number one, Curtis, we're basically taking your news links that you post every week after the show, and that is our pot of news that we're pulling from, and so we're taking all your links, and then what Alan Murphy has been doing is he's taking those, kind of making them read better for print versus how we do it on the show, and things that need to be visualized, he'll go out and he'll grab the screenshots and he'll do things like that. So between what you do every week and what Alan has been doing over the past 3 months, that made up for the news segment, which is probably half of this thing. So lots of kind of optimized for print versions of the news we do on the show is in there. As much as I'm the editor, I don't want to take all the credit because there's a lot of people that help with this. So we have our president's platinum, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, so over time, I've been trying to just tweak it and make it look a little better. Real-time Frogger, yes, I can relate to that. So, but yeah, this one, 60 pages, and a lot of it's news. And also to say thank you. Bob Swoger sent us that picture of the library. So Alan Murphy has been giving us some incredible in-depth, look at this one, Exploring Mega Mini MPI Sound. I mean, the amount of detail this guy gets into with his hardware reviews and everything, how he explains things. He's the documentation the guy creates are just stellar. So this is a super technical write-up, but it's all broken down and explained very well. And then he gets into some sample code in BASIC where you can talk to the sound chips. And so Alan's been giving us some great content on a regular basis. Rick Yulin has too. He's doing some OS 9 stuff. So the contributors are what make the content, and I get the fun part of trying to make it all look good on the page. I'm not really writing anything for this. I'm just trying to massage operating system 9. This is a thing that Rick's been working on. This is his second submission here. So yeah, we're getting more technical write-ups and program listings and a lot of things. So it is starting to incorporate things you would have found in some of the magazines of the day, like your Rainbows and Hot Cocos and whatnot. So yeah, and so this is the news, right? So this is 3 months worth of news that we basically stole from you, Curtis. So because the text
my royalty checks in the mail, right?
The text files were already there, but we went out and grabbed screenshots of things because this is a visual medium. So a lot of times on the show we'll talk about it or we'll play the video, but you can't do that in a print, right? So we had to grab imagery, and there's some of speaking.
Well, plus quite a few people listen to the show as a listenable podcast, so they never see these pictures. So this is one way they can catch up.
Right too. And as I'm looking at this, like, we are covering a lot of stuff from Facebook, so I start to ask myself, well, what is this news, or is this just a Facebook Digest rehash? But honestly, then I started watching the real news, and you watch the local news.
That's what it is.
Everybody's
tweets and
everybody's showing stuff from social media on quote unquote real news, but not everybody is on Facebook. And even if you are, who has time to monitor every group and everything? So this is a nice spoon-fed distillation of what's going on every 3 months, so I think this is still a good resource.
Well, plus it amalgamates the different news sources, because there's like YouTube, there's the listserv, there's the Facebook group, there's stuff posted directly to Discord, there's all kinds of stuff,
right?
And quite a few people are not on every single one of those, and they never hear about this other news at all.
Right.
So this is one place everybody can go. They can get pictures of it if they only listen to audio versions of the podcast. And they also get from sources that they may not normally have access to, period.
Yeah. So I would, and I don't say this very often, but I would say I'm very proud of what the newsletter has become. And I attribute that to the fact that I have enlisted a lot of help, because if it had to be all me, it would suck and it would continuously be behind. So the fact that we have a lot of, and we have Tim Lidner, who does, professional printing for a living. He's been doing a lot of proofing and massaging and tweaking, and also helping gather the screenshots for the news. So between Tim and Alan Murphy and Rick's contributions, and Salvador Garcia has been giving us some really good articles. And so we say this all the time, dude, send us your stuff. We want to put you in the newsletter. Come on the show and talk. We want to feature everybody. We don't care if you are an expert or not an expert, but we would love to hear from people on this show. We would love to have people submit stuff to bring into the newsletter. So more is more, right? And this, because we're not printing this thing, it could be 100 pages. It could be 500 pages if it needed to. As a matter of fact, we already started.
The shipping costs don't change. It's just a free download from your browser. It's a free email. But we are talking about, because I started asking Tim about this, and Bruce Moore was thinking about it, because Bruce has made a few books. We could do like a year-end thing where we take all the 4 issues and make a limited run of a hardbound physical thing that we could maybe have as an option to bring to Coco Fest or something,
And there's so many print-on-demand type features.
like Lulu and stuff.
Right.
So exactly. There's a ton of stuff in this issue. So as you see, he's on page 36 and he's still going, right? So we try to cover everything as it comes out. Nice screenshots of what people are posting. So So thank you, Curtis, because you do most of this on a weekly basis, the news you bring for us, and that is the. Yeah, and so David Craker says, reminds me of the rainbow. Thank you, David. That's extremely high praise. And that would be the goal. Would be to make this magazine quality, and every 3 months maybe it gets a little bit closer to that. So, and by the way, speaking of talented artists, Ron Delvaux, would always love to have some stuff from you, cover art or things we can throw in. One of the things I keep saying I'm going to do and I keep forgetting to do, but we've got a lot of pictures in Discord from the CoCo Art Gallery. I keep meaning to throw some of those in a newsletter, but I'm always so behind on everything that it's always a last minute rush to get stuff done. But we've got a ton of artwork already in our CoCo Art Gallery on Discord I want to bring to the newsletter. But yeah, I'd love to have you create stuff for us visually, Ron. So that offer is always open.
Together on it.
Yeah. But so the next one's going to be for fall or autumn, depending on how you think of it. So if you want to maybe come up with a cool cover that kind of encapsulates that season, that would be kind of cool.
Okay.
I'd like to start doing a back cover. I don't know what the hell would go on it. What was on the back cover of Rainbows? It was just a full page
usually
ad.
full page
ad, right? But
it'd be like Spectral or whoever would grab the full color. Because that was one of the main advertising ones, so it usually be one of the bigger publishers like Spectral or Tomix or something.
But I really think CoCoTALK should purchase a full page ad on the back page, full color.
So that's funny, right? So I'll just tell you, from me personally, because it's been probably a year and a half I've been doing this. I try to make sure that when I'm doing this, because this is a Glenside thing, this is not a Steve thing, so I'm trying to not plug, hey, by the way, I do YouTube, and hey, by the way, I do this show. So I try to make this not about me or anything I do as possible, because this is all about the Glenside and the community. So
that seems crazy.
Yeah. So, but so you'll notice that we've mentioned in here probably 3 times now the CoCo crew. We've never mentioned anything CoCoTALK is, because we don't mention ourselves in the news. When you think about that, Curtis, you know what I mean? So,
well, because the news is curated from us anyway. I mean, that's probably presumed to be a bias enough as it is, right?
But the downside to that is that it would be good to say, oh, by the way, on CoCoTALK, we had this really good interview with Aaron Newcomb, and we had this good interview with
interviews
Stefan
I think
Vogt.
you should mention in there, because that is something people will want to go back to listen to.
But the reason why I can't do that is because, number one, I'm not going to remember, and number two, you're not putting in the news what we do. We're not counting ourselves as news.
So Curtis, you really need to start. You need to start.
Yeah, because I'm pulling
CoCoTALK.
I got enough on my plate. Thank you very much.
But I mean, there are things that we do throughout the 3-month period that are probably worth putting into the news, but we're not counting ourselves as news. You know what I mean? So we probably should.
But interviews, yeah, that's one I think we should put in here, because those that don't regularly listen to us might find certain people they do want to see the interview or hear the interview.
Yeah.
Even if they're not normal listeners.
But yeah, so Eric Canales is always a good help and a good resource for helping me get it all put into the mail, sending out through the mailing distributions and getting on the website. And I love what he's doing with the new updated. We got some stuff on the CoCo
there's some Amigo stuff in the news.
Yeah, you guys are in there.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, so it's definitely, I would say that the newsletter is as broad spectrum and as non-biased as it can possibly be. We are trying to cover everything and everyone, and I'm not trying to make this a showcase to, fly my flag on things that I'm a part of. It's certainly, CoCoTALK.
But I think John's right that we should include some newsworthy stuff.
Yeah,
on our own
and the problem is too is that because I'm the editor, so I'm going by content that's being sent to me. I can't remember everything that we do.
I mean,
on
it
this
could
show.
be as easy as just Curtis just mentioning CoCoTALK a couple more times in these text files or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. or what I need to do then is I need to go back and look at my playlist and say, okay, of the past 3 months, what were some of the notable things we've done on our show, and squeeze those into the timeline too, so, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here, and it's all thanks to Curtis and Alan Murphy and everybody else to help me get this stuff going. So
yep. Anyway, it's a free download. Originally the newsletters were only mailed to people that were paid members of Glenside, but this is kind of like a community promotion now, so there's no cost.
What is the going rate over at Glenside now to become a member?
I think it's $15 for the year.
Okay, just curious.
And that covers the newsletter.
And if you go to CoCoFest, that automatically included in your CoCoFest fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
speaking of CoCoFest, so we are trying to get speakers together. I don't know if you or Aaron would be able to come, John, as a speaker in person or at least virtual, but we're trying to figure out some different speaking slots. And I think one of the ideas that's being pitched is to maybe get people who are into podcasting and media to have a kind of group table talk on that. So it'd be great if either or both of you could come in person in November to the Chicago area. But if you can't be there in person, maybe join a virtual panel.
Yeah,
of,
I mean, we're
like a
we'd
podcasters roundtable. You know?
Right, we'd definitely be up for being part of a panel or something like that. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Aaron's schedule is like. I'm not sure what my schedule is like in terms of being able to come to CoCo Fest. I'd love to be able to come, but
plus Aaron hates Chicago, so I don't know if
he does hate
anyway.
Chicago. But we'd definitely be at the bare minimum. We'd be up for appearing virtually for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in person is the most desirable, but realizing that where we all are and our schedules and whatnot. All right. So then we have some of Bruce Moore's strip here, Joey and Coco. Salvador Garcia started a new strip called CoCo Chronicles. So yeah, I mean, it's really, I think it's evolving. It's kind of a gradual, organic evolution. I didn't want to.
I mean, at any point, do you think too much is too much in terms of the length of this thing? Have you ever thought about paring it down, or are you just throwing?
No, honestly,
I think because it's every 3 months instead of if it was monthly, then maybe yes. But if you take 3 months,
honestly, at first, because I was new to this, I thought there could be such a thing as too much or too technical because I had no idea. I was not in this world before, and but as we started getting some of these contributions and these submissions, I'm like, man, this is good stuff. And why should I be the gatekeeper on what's relevant or not? Just because it's because it's not for me doesn't mean somebody else is not going to like it. And again, we're not printing this. We don't have to save pages or save postage. So no, I say more is more. If we got to 600 pages every 3 months, that would be awesome. That'd be a incredibly terrible problem. God, I got 600 pages I got to read now. I got to get this done between the next one that comes out.
We read 350 page rainbows every month, so that's not a problem.
Yeah, you know, and there's not a lot of fluff in here too. Like every now and then I would put in a full page ad or something just to make it look kind of magazine-y, but I'm trying to keep out all the fluff and make it all content.
I'm telling you though, Stevie, you owe it to yourself to put a full page ad for CoCoTALK in here. I mean, you're the editor. You need to give something back to.
Well, if you go to page 2, I've tried to plug everybody, right? So I've got Retro Innovations, Cloud9.
I noticed you put the most important one first.
Yes,
I think.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, but we got like all the different podcasts.
Yeah, we even have the CoCo Show on there.
Oh, well, thank you for including us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So trying to be full spectrum, non-bias here, and not making anything more favorite than anything else. So.
I did find it cute that you put the Cylon on Zipster's ad there. So, anyway, go grab it.
GlensideCCC.com.
But I mean, in this particular case, like the OS9 column that Rick Dillon did, which is a continuation of the one he used to do for World of 6.8 Micros, except now with the more modern versions of Nitrous 9. And I think you'll be getting into some EUU specific stuff soon in the future too, aren't you, Rick? Or...
Yeah, we're.
So any questions, just fire them at me or Bill. But I mean, like Alan Murphy's been doing this stuff on the various sound chip hardware that's out now too. And I mean, some of it's fairly complicated program. Like we take a look at the article he did on the OPL3 chip, which is like the sound blaster that's built into the Mega Mini MPI. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do with that. So it's a long, lengthy article, very detailed. But if you want to learn how to program these chips and use them to their full extent, you definitely should read it. In fact, I'll have to be doing that soon because I'm planning on doing a driver based on some of the stuff that he's researched for the next version of Nitrous. So it's good. You have a lot of like general news for people who just want to keep up with the CoCo world and what's happening, and then you've got some technical articles that drill down for the programmer types. So we're trying to hit everybody from the game player to the casual user to the the hardcore techies.
There you go.
Well, thanks, Stevie, for putting all that together, or at least whipping everybody into shape.
I do have one suggestion, Stevie.
Of course.
Maybe what you could do is you could do a Bitly link. And you could advertise this. You could do bit.ly, bit.ly/CoCo, and then that would automatically give people the newest issue link right there, and it'll be an easy way to advertise it so people can get to it quickly. Because this is kind of a hard link to advertise. You can't just riff that off, because it's pretty long. But going to Bitly, have you ever played around with Bitly before?
Bitly is like the tiny
it's
URL
a link shortener. So you can go like Bitly/ and then whatever you want, and maybe you could get more people to read it just by being able to advertise it pretty much constantly, just because it's so easy to say.
Okay, it's worth thinking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, this just got released yesterday, and then an update just got released today, which you'll see mentioned here. So this is VCC 2.1.0D, an increase of letter, so it's a fairly minor as far as version numbers go. And the one bug they fixed this morning when they re-released it, there was a problem with mapping the arrow keys to use as virtual joystick positions. So that was a bit buggy, and that's been fixed and released this morning. So that if you downloaded it last night, go re-download it to get that bug fixed. But basically, the general bug fixes from the 2.1.0c is listed right here. I'll just read them up for the audio listeners. Fix the bug that caused certain RS-DOS word processors such as Elite Word, VIP Writer, etc., that would skip every other line of text, which was fixed by James Rye, I believe is actually in our chat right now too. Eliminated the allow size checkbox is redundant. You should always be able to resize. I totally agree with that. That was one Bill did himself. Reset a few default values that had gotten changed so that they make a bit more sense, also from Bill Pierce. Adding a custom key map editor. This is probably the favorite feature I've read about on this, is where you can make custom key maps. And one of the problems with trying to remap stuff to modern keyboards is that some games were designed for the CoCo 1 and 2 with the arrows, left and right arrows were on the right side of the keyboard, up and down arrows were on the left, so you could two-hand a game. And a lot of games were designed that way. And of course, most modern machines have all the arrows clustered together, and they could be a T shape or a diamond shape or whatever. Even the CoCo 3 had problems. Some of the keyboard games became impossible to play. The fact that he's allowing you to remap it means you can custom make it so that you can play some of these old games like Avenger by Cornsoft Group, for example, is one that's pretty well impossible to play on even a CoCo 3 keyboard because of the way the keys had moved around. This will allow you to fix that. And MAME has had that capability for a while, so it's nice that BCC has it as well. He mapped the break key to F12 as well as escape to facilitate use by some games and applications, which is cool. And updated the manual. And that was something that previous versions of VCC, up until I think the very last one, he had not been bothering to update the manual, even though there was a ton of changes like the cut and paste features that were added and all kinds of stuff. So it's good that the manual is now being updated well, so people that are new to VCC now don't have to go through back a bunch of forum posts trying to figure out what the hell's been added to the original old manual, which was written back when 1.43 was released or something. So that's a real positive too. But it's nice to know that it's still being active. I'm not sure. Do you know if Walter Zambotti still doing OVCC updates, or is he kind of stalled on that? He was trying to make that as a cross-platform VCC for Linux, OS 10, and Windows, whereas this is a Windows only.
Can neither confirm nor deny that question.
I'd like to see the two keep somewhat in sync if at all possible.
Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, you can wrap it in wine and stuff. But... Okay, next up, we have David K, which is not somebody I know who that, or David Cree, I guess. Is that Craker or is that somebody else? I'm not even sure.
Well, that might be his. eBay handle. That is.
David, since you're in the chat, if you want to let me know if this is you, because I have no idea. But he basically picked up a Koala Pad and does an unboxing video and then does some tests on it. And of course, he finds the same programmatical stuff that is irritating on the Koala Pad that I found when I bought one, which is why I returned it back in the day, which is basically if you lift the stylus off, it automatically centers. So if you're trying to draw something and you accidentally lift the pen up just a smidge, all of a sudden, wherever you were drawing on the screen, it just jumps back to the middle. Okay, so it's not him. So it was quite annoying, and he was also having some issues when you go to the very far edges of it. So I'll just play a little bit of it. I mean, he takes it apart, shows you the manual.
The one thing that these are hard to find with is the stylus, right? So the stylus was basically just a solid plastic pencil, right? Pencil, kind of a very blunt pencil tip. But when you find these things on eBay and stuff, very rarely do you find them with the stylus. So the fact that he got the box and the styrofoam and the stylus, that's a nice
nice grab
to have the whole.
On the Atari, they made this a non-issue because they physically attached the stylus to the pad. So unless you've got a pair of wire cutters, you're always going to get one.
Your joystick plug, and you go ahead and go through the manual a little bit there. But
well, speaking of self-centering, I remember Henry Reifeld had done a video where he was using the Koala Pad as a game controller because you just touch the four corners to go up, down, left, and right. So that's an interesting.
And if you let go, like if you lift the stylus, it automatically centers. So it's like a self-centering
so that is kind of like a digital gamepad.
Yeah. But the thing is, most arcade games are twitch games. You have to react quickly and have to lift your hand and move it several inches over to tap down again.
Nobody said it was a good idea. It was just
Can it be done? Right?
I mean, that was the reason, for me, the Koala Pad never really made sense because you could use it, like you're saying, as a self-centering joystick, but there was lag time of you physically having to move your hand over a fair bit. And then there was also the problem that if you're trying to make a drawing program of it, as soon as you lift the stylus, it immediately centers again. Now, I'm not sure, was the Atari set up as a digital or as an analog style device?
Oh, I don't think there's any analog style devices on the Atari. I think it's all digital. So
did they make draw programs like this? Like, how would you know where on the?
That's a great question. I've got an Atari touchpad, just like the one that's in the auction, the Atari version, and I'm guessing. I guess I'm a liar, because it would have to be analog, because you'd have to be able to chart every single one of those positions to be able to draw anything on the pad to appear on the screen. So, I guess it is an analog system, but I'm sure that none of the games used it that way because there was no analog stick available for the Atari.
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah, because it was always a kind of that in-between thing. It had some nice features, but didn't fully work as a self-centering joystick replacement, and had some nice features, but didn't totally work because as soon as you lifted it, auto-centered.
Mm-hmm.
So it couldn't use it as a proper, touchpad. Like the actual X-Pad, which is the big $500 one that Tandy sold, was it was higher res, first of all.
Yeah,
but
I'll go get mine to show you real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. This is like the bottom range. So you have your modern touch screens that are capacitive, and then you have the older touch screens that are resistive.
Yeah, this is like
then
resistive.
You have the Koala pad at the very bottom. It's even less than the resistive.
Yeah, like I said, I actually bought one at Radio Shack in the day when they came out, and then I ended up returning it within a couple of days because I found it useless for anything I was trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I had one, but I don't remember being overly enamored with it.
Mine was also pressure sensitive, so if you pushed a little bit, you would change the reading somewhat.
Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing here so Bo can show his version if you want to highlight.
So this is the Atari Touch Tablet. This is the Atari CX77.
Oh, nice.
Touch tablet, and in addition, like I said, it's got the pen actually attached to the unit here. But then you've got the regular joystick port, which is just it's just a 9-pin D-sub port. So I don't know if this thing is analog or not. I mean, because I don't think that you can get an analog connection out of just a 9-pin because you're
they had the paddles on that.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, that could be that inductive pin thing too, where it does a timing.
Yeah,
you tell where the pin is.
You've also got two buttons here, which feature it's almost like a right and a left click. And
right.
I don't know the functionality of these, but it's kind of a neat addition. But anyway,
yeah, we have it on the Koala pad too. It's 2 buttons.
Yeah, that's what the Atari version looks like.
Yeah, that's neat. It's looking, because of its size, it's looking more like what, I don't know if that was pronounced Wacom or Wacom, but
it's almost like a Wacom pad.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's getting a little bit bigger into that arena there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now the X-Pad, the expensive Radio Shack one that came out, the CoCo one, that was a very nice tablet because that one actually had sensors where it would tell, are you touching the tablet or are you only about half an inch above?
Yeah, you could hover and then and press.
It would register
I
where
don't
you were
think this
hovering.
one has that. This one did come with a cover over like a plastic cover over the top. So I think it was almost like a Palm Pilot type. I can't remember. Is it inductive? What's the name of the touch?
Exactly, inductive. So there's a signal in the pin that the tablet can pick up when you're close.
Because that was one thing about the X-Pad I really liked, because actually it had a basic program included in the manual when you got with it. It would show you how to do that. So you could have a little dot, you could move around by hovering over it. And as soon as you press down, it started drawing. And that was awesome. It was actually
really
quite
cool.
good for drawing.
And it was 8-bit resolution, so you can get pixel perfect on your X and Y axis.
256 by 192 full range.
You get full range resolution.
The only problem was it cost more than the CoCo itself.
Yeah.
I was going to say that had to have been expensive.
I got mine on
it was $479, I think. When I remember.
I got mine when they were getting rid of them. I think I got mine for $100 back in the day.
Yeah, you made a steal there, buddy.
Yeah.
It's also not compatible with the CoCo 3 without some modifications too. Unfortunately, double speed. So
I didn't even know about the speed, but I know it requires 12 volts to power just the cartridge itself. But I didn't know there was a speed or timing issue on it. So
yeah, Bill's been working on that.
Okay.
Because we want to get it running a native one thing. So anyway, thanks for showing us that there.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah. Anything we can do to show everyone how amazing that Atari 8-bit platform is.
Right.
We're all about doing that on this CoCo show here. So.
Well, you did say this was a 6502 show, Steve.
That's right. Everyone's favorite processor.
Brian was trying to show us a pad.
Oh, here, let me spotlight Brian.
I have to stop sharing?
Yeah. Well, I can maybe shrink you over. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, here's the one you guys were discussing.
The X-Pad. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And there
Is
was
that all the menus you tap on the outside?
Yeah, that was that template on the outer area there. You could configure those kind of hotspots, those zones, to write software where you could tap on. Like, I think one of the sample programs was, if you see on the bottom, there's the different color things there. So if you had tapped on one of those options there, you could change the color you were drawing with, assuming what graphics mode you're in. Obviously, we couldn't get all those colors in high res. But yeah, draw, paint, erase, line, circle, box, clear. So yeah, those all would be a specific XY coordinate where the pen would touch, and then based on that coordinate, you could then assign that to a function in your
And then
program.
you still had your 256 by 192 inside of that you could actually draw on.
It's funny how the same company that wouldn't put an LED on their computer to show you that it's switched on would produce a $500
and the
tablet.
the pen itself was an actual ballpoint ink pen, so you could put down a piece of blank paper, and literally what you were drawing on the paper would be showing up on the screen.
Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
It was almost the equivalent of a Wacom back in 1981 when it came out.
Yeah, look at, we have Vanna White frickin' here over here, but yeah.
Does the pen still have ink in it?
It does. Yeah. Unlike the ribbons, unlike the ribbons and ink jets of the printers, that frickin' pen's still holding on, right? So.
And the thing is, when the CoCo 2 came out and they reduced it to 5 volts, they discontinued it. I guess at the price they were originally selling it, I can see why it didn't sell well. It was expensive as a disk drive.
Yeah. Cool stuff. But yeah, Wacom tablet is it's a page in the CoCo history book.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna play the video. You guys can go check it out because he actually does some basic
Koala pad. I think I said
analysis
Wacom, but yeah, the Koala pad.
Yeah. So he does something like it kind of talks about some of the same issues I had and demonstrates them on here with basic programs. You kind of see what's going on.
And just so you know, I got somebody who's going to be knocking on my door in about 20 minutes. So I'm depending on where you guys are, either you guys will keep talking or I'll need to run a commercial break. But
I'll vamp. Isn't that the technical term?
Yeah. Personal finance. Is this
yeah. If you have to run out for a while
Michael
here, there's 16 videos of about 15 to 20 minutes long each. I'll just play them all.
Oh, okay. Yes, this is Michael Pittsley.
We'll teach everybody how to do taxes and things. So anyway, we've covered Michael Pittsley's done these videos before where he goes into the multimedia educational software of CoCo, because the CoCo was one of the few computers that could actually have digitized audio on tape coming through the speakers while you're displaying graphics and interacting with the keyboard or joystick. So Dorsett was an educational company that did quite a few of these series. And I think we showed his Spanish series, Learning Spanish. So this is the personal finance series, and he's got all 16 chapters of that, and he goes through all of them in their completeness, so you can actually see the entire program. So it's like income tax, borrowing money, credits and loans, borrowing from banks, real estate.
I probably need to run some of these income tax ones at the end of the year, so I make sure I'm doing mine properly. So
yeah. So pick one. I'll just play a couple seconds so people kind of see if they haven't seen it.
How about personal finance borrowing money? Personal finance 05. Yeah, borrowing money. We could all use a loan every now and then, right?
See if he's going to stuff an ad. Cool.
Turn this one up to 11, man. We need to hear about borrowing money.
Look at that car.
Yeah, look at those fonts too, man.
Yeah.
If you needed money to replace a blown-out tire or to repair a leak in the roof, or even if you just lacked $100 for a $1,000 vacation trip, you would probably go into debt for the amount you needed. You wouldn't and probably couldn't borrow $100,000 for a Ferrari convertible if you didn't have enough income to buy your groceries.
Well, Nick Marentes doesn't have this problem, though.
Nope.
Doesn't this sound like the voice of the
when
Radio
you
Shack
borrow
commercials?
money?
What would you do when you go to borrow money? Oh, this is like a quiz. Oh, man. Listen, I went to school once already. I'm not doing it again.
Debt all your life. Most homes and automobiles are bought with loans.
And CoCo 3s on eBay now are bought with
increase
loans.
sales by offering credit to consumers. And finance companies urge consumers to consolidate their debts by taking out one big loan.
This is starting to sound like a financial
An important
nightmare
part
in the
of personal
making.
financial planning and budgeting.
I just find it fascinating that back in 1984, the Ferraris are so damn cheap.
Yeah. But the guy,
I'll
he's
play the whole thing, the whole series.
a very good professional announcer voice, though, you know?
Yeah.
The voice sounds a bit like the CoCo Radio Shack commercials. It sounds like that guy's voice, you know. That
Actually, it could be JT. You'll go far, Fletcher. You'll go
But,
far.
and this is one of the unsung heroes of the educational programs back in the day, because the CoCo was one of the few systems that actually allowed you to multitask, whatever audio playing cassette. Plus, you had motor on/off control, so you could pause the cassette while graphics, and you'd have to write the program at the time with the tape.
David Krager says, I need to finance an XPad purchase. Yeah, and this is one of the things the Atari 8-bit couldn't do. Or could it? Or could it? Could it do audio?
Well,
through
it
its cassette?
definitely could do that.
Okay. All right.
This reminds me of the there was a series of of language programs like Teach Yourself Spanish, where
Right.
you press play on tape and you've got the same sort of thing going on.
Yeah. Neat.
Now, I can't remember, did the Atari have the control over both the audio and the motor control cassette, where it could turn it off and on and shut the audio off and on? And all that kind of stuff?
Excellent.
Because I'm imagining, like we did the Spanish one last time on here that Michael did the whole series on. So I'm guessing Dorsett probably made that for multiple platforms that could handle that kind of stuff in hardware.
Probably. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you cast your net wide when you're making
Yeah.
software like this?
Yeah.
And you just need one announcer, record everything once, and you just port it to the
Right.
platform
Yeah,
supported.
just use that
But I
same
know some of the
recording.
old 8-bit platforms couldn't do this, so this was a bit more rare.
I just finished reading an article about conversational Spanish for the Atari 8. That's why I know this. Ordinarily, I wouldn't.
It's well informed.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Michael Pittsley, because these are uncommon things, and he's capturing them.
Yeah, not many people like kept their old, Spanish tapes and stuff here, but I can see the basic Spanish, which is the one he did last time we covered.
Yeah, and just remember, you put an L in the front and an O on the end, right? So,
And this was Ron Delvaux's favorite one because it was the solar system teaching one, but actually had Clyde Tombaugh, the discoverer of Pluto, was actually one of the voices on the actual things. You actually have to hear it from the discoverer himself.
Neat.
Next up, Pedro put up this video here where he's actually using the RGB to HDMI converter, but now he's got it hooked up to an MC10.
Ah, this is the one that Aaron was showing us, right?
Yeah, except now, if you remember from when we interviewed Aaron, Pedro had mentioned that they've actually been talking to the people that authored the firmware.
Okay.
On the converter to get it to solve some of the glitching problems and some of the shakiness, and it sounds like they're all solved now. So this is actually demonstrating the new version of the firmware. So it's only a minute and a half, so I'll play the whole thing.
So I've been going back and forth with Ian from the RGB to HDMI project, and I'm currently using an alpha version of the firmware for the RGB to HDMI converter, and we finally got it working perfectly on my CoCo 2, and now I have it working on my MC10. And here we go.
Look at how clean that
very
is.
Clean.
Oh.
Yeah, colors are bright and vibrant.
And it's very clean.
Oh, that is Nirvana, man.
Powered from my MC10. Turn it off, and I'm gonna turn it back on.
And you're just tapping into the VDG then, right? Tapping into a couple of leads off the VDG.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I want to do now is I'm gonna load a game I found, Tetris, for the MC10. So.
And it's not a Jim Gerrie one.
Oh man, how's that even possible?
First, it's an ML, which Jim doesn't usually do.
Okay. Exec. And there you go. I mean, it's hard to play on this keyboard, but it works. Oh, what did I do? Okay, spacebar.
Not bad little version of Tetris. I haven't actually seen the MC10 Tetris before.
It's
So.
graphical. Oh, so Pedro's saying it would go straight to the VDG, but he had to cut a capacitor somewhere.
The MC10.
Yeah, that was part of the solution to get that, the little problems they were having before when he was showing like between the CoCo 1 and CoCo 2 and stuff that he's shown before, where he was working really good on one but not so much on the other. And apparently that capacitor solved it for both.
Oh, can you scroll back a little bit, because Erico's asking where was the cyan when you showed all the color.
The main color bar thingy.
Yeah, the whole character set. I think it was towards the beginning when you saw it print out all the characters. Right there. Where's the cyan? The cyan is kind of tealy looking.
Yeah, it's a tealy cyan.
It's a tealy cyan, and the that what do we have there? It's kind of a fuchsia looking color there. Like, what is that? Maybe the cyan is the one beneath the green. I don't know what the hell that is.
On the left is green.
The cyan
oh,
is
that's
right
the
below
blue.
the
So the blue is looking very not
Purplish,
navy.
a little bit purplish.
Yeah, it's not like a navy blue. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
It
kind
should
of
be
like
a little
red
more,
on
that might be the angle of the camera and stuff too. I don't
Yeah.
know,
So as Erica's pointing out the yellows, because some of the bursting of this is a little overpronounced in some areas. So the yellow's pretty deep, the red's pretty deep, the cyan's almost teal. Your fuchsia color,
the magenta's a little, it's pretty close. The cyan's a little bit greenish, I guess.
Yeah, but your blue is kind of washed out. Your blue is starting to look a little bit like light bluey, violety, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's not bad though.
Pretty close, and
I'm sure those things.
Rock solid.
Hey, Glenn
steady.
Hewlett has joined us. Hey, Glenn says, "Hey, I'm catching up on the Game On Challenge for my Pac-Man transcode. I use the same ROMs that MAME accepts as the standard version. I didn't modify any of the game code logic." There's your answer.
Okay, Glenn, do you know what version of the ROMs you use then? Because a couple of people that were used to some arcade patterns had mentioned that the patterns didn't seem to work.
Rocky, that is pretty much all the colors. That is the 9 colors that we can get on the VDG. There are no more colors on the CoCo 1 and 2 that we can produce.
Well, there's a couple if you use the alternate color set, you get that dark red and that other offset orange thingy. But yeah, basically that's most. I guess artifacting colors, you'd have the blue and the red are a bit unique too.
Yeah.
Not the same.
So I just think these are a higher intensity because, as it's being pointed out, the magenta looks pink, right? So this is kind of just a higher level of intensity on the colors. But I'm sure some of that could be dialed back.
Oh, so it's an algorithm that does the colors, it says.
Okay, gotcha. All right, but it's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good, and it's software reconfigurable. So
it's an MC10 and HDMI, so there's nothing to complain about.
Yeah, exactly.
Super crystal clear.
Yeah, go back to your freaking old TV and crappy RF connector if this ain't good enough for you, mister. Cool. All right, next.
Okay, next up we got a batch of Dragon stuff from Dragon Plus Electronics, which is John Whitworth. So the Premiere Sprite board, which I think we talked about last week, is actually available for order now. So it kind of goes into the history of it here, because this was actually meant to be a product back in the 80s. But the company that was going to make it went out of business before it actually made it to manufacturing and out of the prototype stage. So he's recreated it here. So it's a Sprite board with the TMS 9929 VDG chip, a couple of 16K of RAM, etc. So we've kind of covered it before, but he's released some videos to kind of show people what it's capable of doing here. So I've got those kind of queued up in various spots here. So this first one, and he said to ignore the beginning part here that he screwed up the initial recording, which he cut off and didn't bother editing it.
Okay, so that failed the first time. I was using the wrong drive. We've actually got a color RF picture for the moment, so let's make the most of it. Here we go.
Oh, that's the video we're used to.
Yeah, he had a bad cable, he figures, but here's what the actual output of the actual card looks like.
9 coming through the V9958 on the Dragon MSX 2 board.
So you get a nice 80 column screen there. And of course, the MSX2 also supports the sound chip that's built onto it too. So here's some it's a very brief clip. Hopefully this won't nick the copywriters here because it's actually a Beatles song, which is notorious for copyright stuff. But
it sounds just like Let It Be.
And then here's a little one where he did basically a demo, and it looks like they got some extensions to BASIC. I'll have to have John, specifically address how this is done here. But because it's in BASIC, you watch it doing the actual draw commands are slow, like BASIC is normally quite slow in drawing stuff. But then you can see some of the sprite overlay stuff happening where it's running at a decent clip, and that's done in BASIC as well. So you can see the screen scrolling is a bit slow. I don't know if that's just needs some optimization or if that's a limitation of the card. I'm guessing it's just the software itself needs to be patched a bit. I can't see the card doing the scrolling that slow. But like print exclamation mark, that's a new one on me. So it's got true lowercase. It's got some nice inverted, graphical stuff, and inverted text characters as well.
The board probably has its own onboard RAM, and
it does. It has 16K of onboard video RAM.
Yeah, so the CoCo talking to that RAM probably doesn't have a direct access to that RAM. Has to go through a port or some system whereby it tells this MSX thing to modify the RAM, and hence the slowness.
Yeah, because you might have to jam it through a single port or something.
Yeah.
I'd have to see the code to see if it's optimizable or not.
Awesome sine wave.
Oh, welcome, Tim. So you can see there's more colors than a CoCo 1 or 2 would normally have. Plus, you got these sprites that you can control from basic.
And they just clipped right off the screen there too.
Yep.
Ooh, we're doing sine and cosine circle stuff here, huh?
Yep. And with more colors on the screen than normally we'd be able to get with a
CoCo
CoCo 1 or 2.
Be able to draw lines and do circles. So is he patch basic to use the line and circle command, or is it a different way you got to do it?
No, this way he's actually, I think he is using sine and cosine because that's not the way the circle command generally works.
It looks cooler.
Unless it's just really slow at accessing the card like Nick was saying. But he draws this nice little thing where he's doing lines and ovals and stuff like that. But then he throws a couple of sprites on it here, which is actually the more impressive part of this demo. Aside from the fact you're getting more colors than you would normally get in a CoCo 1 or 2.
It's getting faster as the
Look
line
at these,
gets bigger.
the tanks.
I think it takes the same time to draw a circle no matter what the diameter, which is interesting.
Yes, I'd say he's plotting that circle, not actually using the circle command.
I just got some warnings about my internet connection being unstable in Zoom. You guys still hear me?
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any drop frames in the thing yet. Okay.
Now, Erico's mentioning in the chat, he says the MSX actually had quite sluggish scroll when listing basic programs on the original MSX, and maybe that's a limitation of the video chip itself.
Yeah, a lot of colors there.
This takes a while to draw, so that's a bit. We have pretty good color palette to start with.
How many colors does that chip do?
Oh, geez, what is it? Up to 16 simultaneous, I think, and I can't remember if the palette's bigger than that.
Yeah.
There's a picture of the actual board with its own RF out. So not bad. It's a one board that contains like the video out with the higher colors. It's got the sprite controller on it, and it's got the sound chip on it too. So anyway, he's been doing all this, and of course we mentioned last week he's actually got this available in kit form now. You can actually order it, or is that the WordPack 2 Plus? I can't remember. He's got a couple of boards coming out. So, and speaking of, so this is a demonstration from early experiments when he was using the V9958 chip on the WordPack 2 Plus, which is the board that has the 80 column card, plus it has a 64K RAM for RAM drive, et cetera, on it. So this was some early tests here based on Per Surratt writing some machine code. And he did it kind of picture in picture, so you can see what he's typing on the VDG screen, because that's, of course, where the Dragon boots up by default. And basically, these little test demo programs that he's execing right now are the ones Per wrote to do testing on the actual video card, so you can see what it's doing on its own. There, he shifted it over a little bit. And of course, way more colors than a CoCo 1 or 2 normally would get. And this one seems to be pretty fast on doing the refreshing, so I don't know about scrolling. That's the one thing I'd be questionable with, I guess. At any rate, maybe I'll sneak in a bit of a hint. We're going to be talking about some future upcoming shows and guests we're having, but one thing we have been planning for a couple of years, actually, and it seems to be finally getting off the ground, is we're going to have a Dragon special on CoCoTALK within probably about the end of July, first few weeks of August is kind of tentatively shooting for. We'll give you firm dates once we confirm them with all the guests, because, of course, there's a bit of a time difference. We might have to adjust the time of the show a little bit, depending on what works best for everybody. But we're going to try to get a whole bunch of the Dragon people on for a big special Dragon show of CoCoTALK, and we'll invite everybody to come on to talk and ask questions, and we'll hopefully get some demonstrations of some software and hardware that might not have been seen too much in North America or is brand new, because there's a lot of development going on, including this stuff we're showing you right now. So I'm hoping to get John Whitworth, who's been doing this, and Karen's agreed to be on it. Stuart Orchard and a bunch of others have been writing games and doing other projects on them as well. So once we get firm details, though, we'll let everybody know. But I'm expecting that to be a rather long show, since we're going to have quite a few guests on. There's a lot to talk about, so I look forward to that. And a little bit future at the end of the news segment, we'll actually get into some of the other interviews we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks. So Now, this was an interesting one. It was posted in the Dragon Facebook group because people were asking about the various ways to get media, like to load programs and stuff onto a Dragon for modern techniques of using it rather than, loading everything off cassette or just the old-fashioned disk drive. So somebody, what's his name here? Bluearcus, I'm not sure what his real name is, but basically on the World of Dragon Forum, he created a Google Doc to compare them all. So you can kind of see here, like some of the various things that it supports. You get the Dragon MC here, the CoCo SDC here, which of course has a Dragon mode with a dip switch setting, the Dragon drive using a GoTech and then drive wire. And you've got all those various things. Now, one thing that intrigued me here is that some of these actually have some pretty unique features. Like, for example, save state snapshot is only available on the Dragon MMC, and that allows you to save a game in the middle of playing it, and you can pick up exactly where you left off because it basically freezes the machine's state. It also supports cassette, which also DriveWire lets you do as well, whereas the other ones don't. So there's some definite positives and not necessarily negatives, but missing features on others here compared to others. So, for example, the Dragon MSC with all these extra features that are really cool, it does not support using physical drives at the same time, while the CoCo SDC does with the multi-pack, because you can just plug in the disk controller and you type drive off, 0 off, or whatever to enable the real physical drive. So you can actually copy back and forth from the SD card to the actual physical drive, which I've used a lot for backing up a lot of my stuff. Now, of course, that requires a multi-pack of some sort or a properly done Y cable to do that, but it's a pretty interesting comparison video here between the various features on each. And there's definitely pluses and minuses to each of them. So I don't know which one I would pick being a Dragon user myself personally.
Hey, real quick, I just want to jump in. I just had some visitors show up. Are you going to be good to be talking about news for a little while where I could step away?
Yeah,
like 10 minutes,
I can,
5-10
like
minutes or something?
now that Tim's here, we got a demo coming up after that, so we can switch to that.
Okay, I'm going to go on mute and I'll be back shortly. I just didn't want to leave the show hanging in case I don't know where you're going to go from here. So
okay,
all right,
Hi, Stevie.
Okay. Next step, and this is also related to the MSX2 Plus. So there's a post, and this is something we'll get into a bit more here with Tim. I think I'll save Tim. I'll save you for the end of the game on news because I got a few other things I'll get out of the way too, so we can kind of transition and we can get onto that as long as we want. But kind of a preview of it is that the MSX2 Plus board, which is now released as actual hardware you can buy in kit form, has also now got emulation in the latest versions of MAME. So you actually can do software development or testing of it from MAME itself, which means, of course, it'll eventually work on the CocoPi once that's updated for the newest versions of MAME as well. So there's some demos. Paris Red had been porting, and we've shown these before on the show too, where he's been porting some of the AGD games from the Spectrum, but he's been porting them for the actual sprite chips and the actual full color modes and the sound chip and everything else too. Now, Tim, before we get into that, and I'll get back into that when we do the full demonstration, but from your were you involved at all with the MAME updates to handle the MSX2, or is that done by somebody else?
Not at all. That was 100% Nigel Barnes.
Okay. And from your brief experience, we'll kind of tease it here ahead of time, Mara. What's been your experience with trying it out in MAME here?
Pretty simple. His Facebook goes into really good detail on how to start it up, where to put the ROMs, and a nice sampling of games to try out.
Cool. So it's available for download now. And then if you need the special ROMs and test programs that we were talking about here, John's actually uploaded those to the Dragon group as well. You have to rename it because Facebook doesn't let you upload zip files. So you take the extension there and rename it to .zip and then just unzip it. So it includes the ROMs and it includes, I think, 4 or 5 different game samples from the AGD stuff?
Yep.
Tim? So we'll get a demonstration from that on Tim shortly. So for now, I'll just transition over to the game on news. We've got a few bits before we get into the actual demonstration that Tim will be doing. So let me just share back to the other screen. Did I share the right one? What screen are you guys seeing right now?
Your web browser tab bar. Oh, now we're seeing the web browser.
Okay. Okay, so you see the iMac screen there with the CoCo on it?
Yes.
Okay, this is another one made by Pedro, actually, and we kind of mentioned that he was working on getting the monitor from his old iMac to work as a monitor for the CoCo. using the RGB HDMI stuff that he's been working on. So he did a test on it here where he's actually got it running using the RGB to HDMI converter onto his modded iMac G3 monitor, which I can't remember what the res on that thing was. 1024 768 or might have been 1280 by 1024 or something. I can't remember. But basically, he's got it running on there. So, and he actually, because he just did, he wanted to do some tests on color, like we're doing in the MC10, like what are the proper colors so you can test them. And people were asking, what kind of CoCo programs can you run that actually show, pretty well all the colors in a single game? So a lot of them told him that they should use Nick Marentes' semi-graphics game, Rally SG. So that's exactly what he did.
Okay, here I've got my blue board hooked up, my CoCo 2 blue board hooked up to my iMac G3 DV CRT. And so it's going to look a little dark because I had to play with the saturation in order to get a nice stable image on the CRT. But so what I want to show is, the RGB to HDMI board. It's working great. It's perfect. There are no sparklies. I've been working a lot with, Ian has been working a lot on this. He's just been asking me for feedback, and I've been doing some testing for him. But just quickly, I'm gonna restart the CoCo. You get the Pi screen there, and then instantly you're in. And I want to load. I just bought Rally SG from Nick Marentes, and I want to show it off here, and I'm going to try and play with my joystick.
How many Ferraris is it now, Nick?
4.
I found it amusing. He's loading it off cassette too.
Yeah, while this is loading,
he mentioned in the chat here, it says a 1024 768 75 hertz screen that he's doing this on.
Spent many hours to get this just right. And there's a version of the firmware out now that is stable, and it works on the CoCo 2, and I tested it on my MC10, and it looks really good. And I really love the way it looks on this VGA monitor now, which, by the way, this is not really a VGA monitor, but I've turned it into one. And it's a great look. It's a great retro look, I think, for it. It's a good match.
And it films pretty good.
Really crisp.
Yeah, the 75 hertz helps a lot because it doesn't catch the slow
it's up
refresh
there.
rate scan.
Yeah, there's no rolling, which is great.
There we go.
So Nick, you can attest to the accuracy of the
I
colors.
haven't got the sound working. I plugged it into
Yeah,
the
it looks
speakers here.
good. I'm curious to see how the flickering radar works.
Which, by the way, this game is. I'm playing with the joystick, and it's
Yeah,
much
the radar
easier
looks
to play with the
okay.
keyboard.
It flashes every now and then.
Right now, for
But that could be
purposes of this
Discord.
video,
Yeah, that could be the Discord. It could be the actual camera he's using, depending on its refresh rate. That's hard to tell.
It's a fun game. It's well made. I really like it. Oh, I died.
Now I see why Nick recommended this video to me. No, I'm just kidding.
And then I asked around on the CoCo Discord server for a game with colors. This one was recommended to me by Dave6309, and I mean it's perfect. I think it has a lot of colors. It looks nice, and it really looks good on this VGA display.
So Nick, did you give it to him for free?
Oh, whatever.
Plug
Obviously,
your
I'm
game?
terrible.
No, he would. I
And
didn't know he
would
was
rather
doing this.
at the moment be playing Pac-Man transcoded, but I have had
Yeah, to Nick, he's just
really
another
hard
sucker.
time
I mean,
getting
customer.
a CoCo 3 emulator working.
Is he piping the sound through the screen as well? Any idea?
I think he did say that he is piping it through the speakers
yeah.
built into the front of the iMac. So yeah.
Yeah, it's getting good sound.
Anyhow, you get the picture. The HDMI converter, or RGB to HDMI converter here works great. It's very clean. And again, this is
He said he did have to play with his
pure
camera to get the
digital
flicker
solution.
down, so the 75 hertz doesn't
sampling
totally
the
solve
signals
it, but
coming off the
it definitely
VDG.
seems to help. Because it's
Pretty
60
good,
hertz
though.
camera, but the 60 hertz screen, it catches that
and then
scan.
doing
He
magic
needs,
with the
he
Raspberry
needs to
Pi.
darken the screen a bit
Get
because
it
the
up.
black is not black. It's
Well, he
a
said
bit-
at the beginning that he specifically did that so that you could see it properly on the camera because it
Oh,
wasn't
okay. Yep.
showing up. It was dimming everything else down, unfortunately, to make up for it. Probably trying to do its own auto white balance or something silly.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a pretty cool experiment, and I'd like Aaron to see this. John, if you can show it to him because he hates Max, and he loves CoCo, so I want to see his head explode.
Well, I you know, this is something that I'd be interested in learning how to do, converting an iMac, you know, a G3 iMac into an RGB monitor. That seems like a really cool thing since it has the integrated speakers and everything. That's really cool.
Yeah, you can even do full stereo because it's stereo speakers,
right?
And even
right.
a CD-ROM drive you might be able to hook up, or DVD, depending on
that may be asking a bit much for the CoCo.
but seeing Aaron's head explode, I think would be well worth it. So I'd just love to see it.
Absolutely.
So if you do get a reaction from him, please tape it.
Okay.
Did they remove the offending Mac parts out of there?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Still got the big iMac logo on the front.
Because I think some of these are quite readily available.
Because the iMac was the thing that resurrected Apple. So I mean, that was their best seller.
You can get G3 iMacs all day long, and people can't give them away because they're so heavy. It's about 25 pounds.
Yeah, even with that little carrying handle built onto the top of the monitor.
It's
heavy.
What I'd love to see is sort of like a KVM switch where you can switch between the iMac and what, you know, sort of a generic RGB connection, and maybe that's what he's got going on. I'm gonna have to see again. I'm gonna have to check out a tutorial.
Yeah, Rocky, since you're actually, or Pedro, that you're actually in the chat as Rocky Hill there, if you want to just mention some answers to both questions there, he can kind of catch up on the chat there too. Okay, so I'm going to do these stories backwards from the original list here for anybody who's got the list off of our Discord here, because I'm saving up one there I want Stevie to be able to see. So next one up we will go to is the black hole, Dragon 32 cassette. So back in the day, there was these things called 50 games. There was basically basic games written and sold as one tape. Like here's 50 games made in BASIC that you bought at one shot. And this particular one, and it's cassette number 50, game number 38. So these were not the greatest games, but in this particular case, there's actually two versions of it. There was a 1983 version, which is kind of using the text mode. And then there's another one, 1984, that tried to use graphics mode, and it's some weird, and you can kind of read the directions on the screen here as I'm yakking over it, but it's a fairly simplistic game. It's not the greatest game in the world, but it kind of shows you that if you bought one of these dirt cheap, 50 games for the price of one type thing tapes. And I remember even PCs used to sell these little packages of 100, card games or something like that. None of them were very good, but it was, if you wanted, cheap software with a lot of variety, at least they gave you something for cheap. And I'll skip over a little bit at the beginning, but he actually does mention here that alien move, if you or the alien move onto any of the Death Stars. So it's not aliens, it's aliens. So it's just so you know. But the basic game is you're trying to, prevent yourself being sucked into a black hole.
Oh, no, he's going to get me. He's going to get me. Damn it, let's have another go. All right, so I press space and then it warps me wherever it chooses. Oh.
It seems a bit too random. It can die pretty quick.
Oh my god, come on, I want to at least get over the green line once. Go, 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 go.
Pretty simplistic.
Yes. Let's have a look at the 1984 version.
The 1984 version.
Drag you into its hole. Oh dear, don't get dragged into the black hole. Okay. Let's have a go then, shall we? Well, that was nice, wasn't it?
So normally this level of game would have been a type in a magazine. This is not something that normally would have been commercial, except maybe at the very earliest days of the home computer revolution, or the first year of a computer, maybe. But I think these are popular. Both you can probably tell me because you've done a few ARGs in your time. I'm assuming most of the machines have these cheap, basic compilations of here's 50 really, mediocre games to grab.
Yeah. I mean, you see this on literally every 8-bit micro has games like this.
Come on. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, Kieran mentions in the chat there, he says, I think cassette 50, which is actually the name of the product, was out on loads of platforms. So I don't know if they use the same games on each. So maybe there's a specky version of Black Hole too or something. I'm not sure, but
it died immediately then. So I've got to get into that red hole somehow. But if you see, every time I push the joystick.
Hey, he wasn't too impressed with this version. Right. Honestly, I'm not too impressed with it either. But it was just kind of a way for getting people in, for cheap. They get a bunch of different variety of games, and they're all in basics. I mean, if you wanted to learn how to program, you had at least something to base it on besides the manual. You could look at the listings for all these things here, but they weren't the greatest games in the world. Okay, next up here, and this is one that was pointed out by Tim Lidner himself. So, Tim, how did you find out about this Kickstarter project?
A YouTube channel I watch called Good Bad Flicks is either a participant or he was pushing the Kickstarter because he's a fan of first-person shooters.
Hey guys, I missed a few things. Can you mind just going back and redoing them all since I was no? Okay, sorry.
Snooze you lose. I think that's our motto.
So I just happened upon it from a random YouTuber.
So this is meant to be a documentary on FPS, kind of the history, and also much more, I think, focused on the more modern stuff. It does go through the prehistory, like right back to 1973 with the very first 3D graphics games ever attempted type thing.
Like a dungeon crawl or something, or?
Yeah, though it's more first-person shooters, so I think it's more concentrating on the shooting genre. But one of the nice surprises that Tim found on it when he pointed it out is that Phantom Slayer is featured in the intro pre-roll of the.
Now, 75,000 in Canadian. What's that, like $40 American?
54,000, 487 says right on the screen there, you idiot.
Got enough to go to dinner with that money.
Oh, you made a Canadian curse.
No way, eh?
That's Lurch from Moonraker in the bottom of that screen there. I recognize that
right
guy.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that
have to do with first-person shooters? I don't know. Maybe he's a bad guy. Well, there is a GoldenEye first-person shooter on the Nintendo 64, but I doubt Lurch was in it because that was from the Pierce Brosnan era. Ooh.
That must have been like Daggerath.
It looks a lot like Daggerath right now. Oh, there we go. Yep. Oh, look at that, Phantom Slayer! Woohoo! This is really well done. This intro.
Yeah.
I mean, as technology evolves? Yeah, I was gonna say you can't have an FPS history without Wolfenstein.
Nope.
Yeah!
I won't play the whole 4-minute thing. You can go check it out, and if you like the project, you can back it up on Kickstarter. But it was really cool that it has Phantom Slayer.
Oh, absolutely. What it's hard to imagine now, because even before nowadays the violence in video games is so realistic. It is as graphic as watching an R-rated movie. I mean, video game violence now is over the top violent. But even back in the 80s, there was this whole thing about parents being concerned about video games being too violent because we're shooting things and we're blowing things up, And so when graphics games were still very pixely and blocky, there was already this whole kind of movement against video game violence. But when Doom came out and you're literally running around killing people, that was a game designed to run around and shoot and kill people with blood. That was hugely over the top, graphically pushing the envelope and boundaries. But I can imagine this meeting. Okay, we're going to make a game about running around killing people. Oh man, people are going to be shocked. But we'll make them Nazis. Oh, okay, it's all right. Nazis. Everybody hates Nazis. Kill them, right? So, I mean, that's how they kind of got away with it. Is that this archetypal bad guy, and nobody's going to complain if you're killing Nazis, right? So, I mean, but that game was just Wolfenstein was the most graphically intense, violent game of its time before things like Mortal Kombat and all kinds of other stuff, So.
Yeah,
Wolfenstein was also the first game that many people played that was the 3D, first-person perspective at all. I know it was the first.
There was a couple before that, but yeah, that was
right.
This sort of, I know that there were many, but for the mass market, that was really the game that sort of turned people onto that perspective. I remember playing it for the first time, and just being in awe of just being able to move around in a 3D space. It's incredible.
Yeah. This one will probably be best known as kind of the the definer of the PC-based first-person shooter genre. But first-person perspective, as we see here, was 20 years before this. It was around, but the real-time, fluid, not like step as you're stepping down the hallway. This one was one of the first ones to kind of do that.
Yeah, because Phantom Slayer is like you said, it's a step. They give the illusion of it because they would scroll the screen when you sit in that corner.
But the fluid, and the thing even for me, like my parents were this way, and I'm kind of this way too. Certain 3D games will screw with me and give me like motion sickness, right? And so it has to be done a certain way. When I play the older games that are 3D, I end up feeling dizzy and disoriented because somehow it's screwing with your equilibrium and stuff. So good 3D should feel kind of organic and stuff like that. So if I play older 3D games, I can't play them too long without having to stop, you know. So, and I think
I have the motion sickness no matter which 3D game modern times.
And 3D movies were like that too. Some of the early 2005, 6-ish 3D movies gave me headaches, and as that technology got better, I can watch a 3D movie now and then not have it bother me. So
yeah, because I literally have to go back to like Phantom Slayer, started graphics, then I don't get sick. But if I'm playing even Wolfenstein or Doom or Quake, like it starts kicking in after a while. And the more modern ones, actually, it hits me faster. It can literally take me 20 minutes, and I can't look at the screen anymore because I'm nauseated.
Yeah, this looks cool, though. This looks really cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool. I'm glad Tim found that, so thank you, Tim.
All right.
Next up, our entry for the Jim Gerrie collection this week. So this is a video for the beta version of his port of Walter Bright's 4XUR. I don't know what the heck I was typing there. I don't know if it's at a console or something, but it's a game called Empire, which he recoded for the MC10, of course. Now, this is originally a turn-based war game that was originally started by the original author, Walter Bright, in 1971 on a PDP-10. So this is old. And then he finalized it in 1977. And then it got ported to a ton of systems: C64, the Apple II, DOS, Windows, Atari ST, the Amiga, etc. So this is his MC10 version of it.
Sound is amazing.
It's kind of got the exploratory map where you only see parts of the map.
It reveals the map.
Fog of War.
Teleport, transport.
Yeah, so you're moving troops around and etc. So it's a war simulation. But I didn't realize that genre had been around since 1971.
Wow.
I mean, you play board games like this, like by Avalon Hill and companies like that from even the 50s and 60s. There's a lot of popular, games. And we had one company for the CoCo called Arc Royal that pretty well made their living completely off war-based games, simulations like this. But I didn't realize it was that far back. Anyway, if you're into war strategy games, it's probably a fun one. And now the segment I was saving up for Stevie.
Oh, really?
Here. Got the word Dragon. Did a couple more videos here. So he's got a few that I had not seen before. And a few we've seen before.
This is the window shade guy, right? With the white line across the screen?
You bet.
All right. I remember him.
So if you haven't watched the segment from last week, Steve, there's a few you should catch in there, like Ring of Darkness and Lucifer's Kingdom, etc.
Okay.
And
is Demon Seed
the page and delete some again on me here? But
you got Puyan in there with the better looking colors, other than the green. The green pig looks like
it looks like the ones that he put up yesterday. He's removed. Let me try to force reload.
What's Bonka?
Which one? What?
Bonka.
That's Apple Panic, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because you go from 4 days ago to today.
Yeah, and he actually just posted these yesterday. Dragonhawk Return of the Ring. Now, the Lucifer's Kingdom we showed last week, he actually did redo that video because he's actually gotten further into the game. So you can see there's different planets and stuff you're traveling to. It's kind of like Xeneon. So I will play that a little bit just because it has some new stuff in it.
Oh. Pretty smooth.
So you can see at the bottom it says he's on planet Giotto, I think, and region Epsilon.
Oh, yeah. Those are some of my favorite planets and regions. Oh, I saw a little alien face on the ground there. Kind of reminded me of Gunstar. Yeah, that's cool. Very smooth scrolling and parallaxing and all kinds of stuff going on there.
Yep. And then this is what he didn't get to in the last video version of it.
Let me ask you guys a question. You programming types. By making a game monochrome, how much sort of space or efficiency do you save versus making a game color? I mean, can you make a game scroll 25% faster by not having any colors?
Well, it depends on how big the pixels. If the pixels are bigger, then yes. But otherwise, you're just trading color for detail.
I see.
Right. Now, technically, the reason why this is monochrome is because this does not do NTSC artifacting. This is PAL. But most of the CoCo stuff was in this mode, and that's what you had your red, white, and blue stuff. So this is mostly just monochrome because of the PAL.
The PAL,
the PAL
Because
stuff.
basically here you're getting a full 256 by 192 resolution.
Yeah.
Whereas if you did the exact same thing in the CoCo, every alternate pixel would be red or blue. If it's a single pixel, you have to have two together to make white.
And you got to notice he's not scrolling the full screen.
Yeah, it's only scrolling about a third of the screen. And vertical scrolling is easier because if you don't have to shift pixels. You can just
it's just a byte move versus a
copy
pixel
bytes.
masking. Yeah. Now this looks like one I should maybe revisit with my 609 on optimizations here at some point because I probably could speed that up.
and honestly, the sound effects are not completely annoying. They're just like nice little clicky sounds. They're not like.
It's not offensive to the ears.
Yeah.
And I think the scrolling speed might be intentional.
Yeah, it might be intentional.
Yeah, that's true. Because the ships are moving a fair bit faster than the scroll. So
next,
it's quite good. It's got decent sprites and everything in there.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, well drawn characters, and he's even got a lot of the CoCo games that did this. Yeah, a lot of the CoCo games like this that came out just had aliens would come flying into diagonals and bounce around and stuff. Like even Nick's Cosmic Ambush did that, but Xevious and a few others. This one actually has the patterns like arcade games did, where they come around and spinning circles and patterns.
Yeah.
Which we didn't see much on the CoCo Dragon for some reason.
Yeah, this is good. I like it.
There's power ups and kind of stuff. So.
Oh, look! You can see the score multiplier stuff there on the screen too. So there's like some game data that gets incorporated into the playfield that's scrolling past you. That's interesting too.
Yeah, it looks like a cute little game, which until last week I'd never seen before.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, the patterns, like the kind of rotating movement of those guys.
Yep, they come in like sine waves with spinning circle group, flight patterns and stuff there. So it's nice because that didn't get done for any CoCo games that I can remember. Like Xevious didn't do that, Xeneon didn't do that.
I love that alien face. I was kind of like barking at you. Rawr, rawr, rawr. It's really neat. The animation, the continuous animation on that.
And of course, the kind of simulating a dual plane with the stars going at different speeds and moving.
Parallaxing.
So who was this game distributed by?
I don't know. Karen, you're in the chat. Can you tell us? I haven't got this one on my site yet, so I have no idea.
Well, it certainly looks like NTSC artifacting, so I'd kind of think it was US based.
No, not necessarily.
Where do you see the artifacting? I'm just seeing basically whites and
Orange Software. He says.
Sorry,
Karen says it was distributed by Orange Software.
Okay, I haven't heard of them.
Yeah,
but it's if it's a UK created program, then it wouldn't have artifacting because otherwise it would look terrible.
Yeah,
you have like purples and greens.
I think that outside would show up as like an orange.
Yeah. He says they were a late player.
Maybe, but.
Yeah, it came out in 1988, he's saying.
Yeah.
Karen, I want to tap your brain when I get back into Dragon games on my site here because you know a lot more about them than I do.
He's like the British Curtis Boyle.
I'm sorry.
When it comes to game knowledge.
And I bet it was distributed on a cassette.
Probably was.
Yeah. The only difference between Karen and Curtis is that Karen's doesn't,
smart.
Yeah, he doesn't bother us with that Nitrous 9 crap. So.
Plus, he's a smart programmer. I'm not. I'm just a hack.
He said absolutely when it comes to helping you update your stuff. And yes,
I thought he was talking about absolutely that I'm a hack and he's smart.
No, this is really good. I love it's kind of like the pinball machine where you can see the multipliers going up there the more you hit something.
Yeah, and you shoot them and light them up.
That's pretty. It's pretty high end, man.
Yeah, it's a decent game, and I guess it kind of shows the fact that it came out later in '88, which is late in the Dragon market, because it is polished.
I wonder what other programs this fellow wrote.
Karen, do you know if Orange Software did more than just this game? That would be interesting to see. Because the guy did this actually.
Yeah, those letters C's. The more you shoot them, they start to like retract into the ground.
Yeah, a lot of attention to detail in this.
Yeah,
that
no,
kind
he's
of
done
thing.
well.
Yeah, and Torsten's saying it reminds him of the F-16 that Dicom did. Yeah, that's true. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I'll try one forced reload here on his main page, but it looks like he might have wiped out some of the stuff he had just up yesterday. Darn it.
He said they did North Sea action, but he doesn't remember anything else. Torsten says the sound reminds him of Time Bandit. That's true. It does. It's kind of clicky. A little bit clicky.
No, he has wiped them out. Okay, so hopefully those will show up again in a week or two because he sometimes redoes videos. He's done that to me before, but that's too bad because he had some really good ones I wanted to show too.
Is the Demon Seed one that was sold in the US?
Yeah.
Yeah, except it was Artifact.
It was Artifact.
Ah, right. So he's just changed the mode.
Yeah.
I thought so. Looked different.
Cool.
Okay, so that's all I had for Game On News. So the next thing is the MAME update to handle the Dragon upgrade MSX2 Plus board with some sample games prepared Surratt is something that Tim Lidner is going to demonstrate for us, running the new version of MAME with those things. I will stop sharing and let Tim take over.
Oh my goodness. This is too good to be true.
Well, I like to do my part.
Yeah.
All right, should be seeing the screen now.
Yeah, Dragon DOS.
Now, is this the official release of MAME, or is this still a preview version?
This is in the official download that you can buy.
So this should work on the new Raspberry Pi update then.
Oh,
It
wow,
should.
look at this. Look at this.
Here's something neat. There are keys that you can press at this stage to shift the video over.
Oh, because of the Dragon board probably has that to center your screen.
I thought that was neat. Of course, it's useless on an emulator.
Right.
All right, so you can hear the music.
No, I can't. Can't hear anything.
Did you remember to click the share sound?
I
thingy?
did not.
Yeah, just stop sharing and just restart, and you can click it again.
All righty.
I do that all the time.
That is
as
really
Steve will tell you.
impressive. Real sprites, man. Real sprites, real sound. Ooh. I like it. You just pause it? Okay.
Yeah. The keys are weird. It's QA, O, and P.
The guy looks like a freaking hot dog, man.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like a... Oh, and it's pretty
Looks like one of your
instant.
opponents in Burger Time, doesn't it?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Those skulls are really cool looking. Pickle Rick.
60 says, yeah, let's say hot dog. And Erico says same thing with the sausage from Burger Time.
Yeah. This is gangster.
So I could try another one if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please. Actually, we might as well cycle through them all. I haven't even seen some of these myself yet, so
Yeah.
it'll be kind of a sneak
I mean,
preview
I
what's
want to
coming up.
buy that MSX board, but if I can emulate it and start playing some of these AGD games, so that would be freaking awesome, man.
What are you guys seeing?
Right now I see your black and white face.
Okay.
The size of a postage stamp.
Boom, boom, boom.
Dragon DOS.
So this one is called Circuitry.
Circuitry?
Circuitry.
Oh, I hear the floppy.
This is one I don't think I've seen.
Ooh, powered by AGD.
It reminds me of a lot of Tron.
Discs of Tron?
Not this. No.
Oh, Tron!
No,
Tron
Deadly
Deadly
Discs?
Discs from the yeah.
No,
From
no.
Intellivision.
Tron Mazatron. That's what it looks like.
Oh, well, no. Yeah.
That one I'm not familiar with.
I don't know that one either.
The third game that nobody knows. Press I. Here we go.
See little binary bits floating around and stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
little
so-
circuit traces.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to play this game.
You're doing a great
Yeah,
job.
this
so
looks
far.
like a
I would
game
say
made
don't
for
get
nerds.
hit.
I don't
Don't
know
get
why,
hit by that. Yeah. Pick up. So your cassettes and floppies are things you got to pick up. Okay. So avoid the bits. Yeah.
It's one of those
That's
pixel
got to be.
perfect jump
Yeah,
things,
it's got to be
isn't
a
it?
timing thing where you got to squeeze through real quick, right? It looks like your floppy's still spinning. Is what it sounds like, anyway. So.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to figure out a diagonal jump to get up there. So the difference here is because this is using real sprite hardware, you're not getting that spectrum color problem where the colors would bleed on certain byte boundaries and stuff. Yeah. I like this.
This looks more like an Amstrad CPC game than a Spectrum game because of that. Yeah.
Well, it's based on the graphics chip from the MSX, so
yeah.
Okay. The MSX is a weird dog. It can basically it runs the gambit of everything all the way up into like NES style graphics, all the way back to something like the CPC. So.
Yeah. There's various generations of MSX, so you have to
it ran up for a long time. Absolutely.
This one's called Froggy.
Froggy Quest.
Pinarg and back again.
I like how they got the full color screens and everything, man. This is really good. I guess the color data was always there. Just on the CoCo and Dragon, you couldn't do it, right?
It's a bit odd. I was trying to convert the hibernated screen to the CoCo. The raw pixel data is exactly the same, except the fact that they have a tile color map of 8x8 tiles, I think it is. And each one has a foreground and a background color. So you have two colors you can put in each 8x8 tile. The problem with trying to translate is that sometimes whatever graphic editor they use to create these screens on the Speccy would switch the foreground and background colors between two tiles next to each other. So the first one says the foreground's blue, the background's black. The next one's flipped around. So when it came on the CoCo, there's chunks inversed, and you have to do a lot of manual manipulation.
Hey,
the only key that's working for me is jump. I can't figure out any other keys.
I like that you got a couple shades of green on the screen here with the roses and everything. And yeah, this is neat. That kind of purpley blue color reminds me of a Commodore a little bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Not enough earth tones.
Yeah.
Right, John?
Yeah. Well, the Commodore, its signature is you take purple and gray slime and you stretch it over every color.
Yeah.
That's how you get the Commodore.
Yeah, that chirping you're hearing was the game he was showing us.
That was the sound effects, the amazing sound effects.
The amazing sound effects of that chirpy game. Diamond Geezer.
Hot Dog Man is back.
Hot Dog Man is back.
Why do I have ladder twice in my list?
Hot Dog
Sorry about
Man.
that.
Game audio is a little hot.
Okay.
It's all right.
That's okay. So is the host.
Oh, hey, you're not kidding.
Oh yeah, every time I
started up, it kicks it back to full blast.
Yeah, the name does that.
Oh.
All right.
Asteroid. Oh, look at this rotating.
It's like an R-type asteroids mashup.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Good job there, Tim.
Well played, Tim.
I'm gonna play it like.
Yeah. Got colored lasers.
I like the
nice little blippy sounds.
Got a lot of spiders from Dungeons of Decorath.
Yeah, the sound effects.
How do you think they make those beams different colors? Do you think that's set on a timer, or every X laser is green or whatever?
I think it rotates through the colors here from the looks of it, because a laser stays the same color as it goes across. So
yeah, this is neat. This is really good speed.
Yeah.
I like a little trail of like particles.
Oh, hey, Tim. Karen says you're not as good at these games like that idiot from the book is.
Damn him!
Yeah, even like there's like little like smoke rings coming out of the back of your spaceship.
Yeah,
this kind of reminds me a bit of Moon Shuttle, actually.
And the fact that the stars are going in the opposite direction of where your things are moving is also interesting too.
All right, this next one's called Robot.
Oh, this is a Dragon with a 6309 in it, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, this is a souped up Dragon. This
I've
is
been
a
trying.
Cool looking screen. Ow, that's noisy. You turn it down a little bit, please.
A little hot.
Yeah, it made me reset itself again.
Oh, this is really interesting.
This looks straight out of the ZX Spectrum. I can tell you that.
Oh, this is kind of like
Seamus?
Seamus, yeah.
Kind of.
So who are you? You're the box?
Yeah, I'm the white box, and I'm not dying.
Okay, well that's good.
Maybe.
So maybe you are playing better than that idiot from the book. Now
I can move.
Like a
Sokoban,
yeah.
Oh, there's your pass. Okay, so you got to get the pass to get out.
Can you grab things?
Maybe there's a key for that.
Maybe that's the impossible in the impossible mission.
Yeah.
What the hell just happened here?
I was mashing the keyboard and this happened.
Something's gone wrong here.
You've entered hyperspace.
I love the screen though.
Yeah, I like the way the HUD's laid out and everything.
Yeah. Impossible mission.
Oh, maybe easy mode made it possible for me not to die too quickly.
I want to know what's going on in that opening screen there.
Yeah. Is that stuff you have to collect?
That computer.
Maybe so. Yeah. But you can't actually run over anything, which doesn't make sense. It seems like that would be natural since you're a box shape anyway. Here's the key. It is like Seamus. You're right.
That's like a bulldozer or a tractor.
Yeah.
You picked something up. How did you do that?
He got the key.
Spacebar.
Oh, spacebar is like action, the action button. See if you can do action on that computer. No?
Nothing doing.
But now that you have the key, maybe you can get to that exit.
Yeah.
Spacebar not doing nothing?
It's weird that
over open or something. I don't know.
You don't have a way to see your inventory either in this. You'd think that they make the HUD put that key.
Oh well, it is showing you the map.
Yeah, it's got the auto map feature. I don't know what batteries means. Is that certain color batteries you have to collect?
Maybe that's a time. It's a time limit. Maybe.
Okay, so you got the pass. Oh, they're actually chipping away at that rock. I'm not sure if that's on.
Huh?
Maybe not. Or is it? No, it just looked like it. Okay.
It looked like it. Yeah.
Oh, so you could block those guys off. Now try going into that thing again now that you have the pass. I don't know if the pass is different than the key. Did you just do something?
No, it just hung.
Okay.
You beat it.
I like the color set.
You won.
I like the color set. That's
Let's
cool.
try T-speed.
Are they always RO to run?
They have been so far.
Okay. Oh, I like that guy here.
Yeah.
Press fire to add sprite.
Speed demo.
Oh, it's a speed. That's the
test.
engine, the graphics engine speed demo. Then.
Oh, T-speed. Oh, those must all be sprites.
Yeah. So it's a neat little demo.
They're animated. They're bouncing.
So it looks like the sprites are two color. Then basically, you got a foreground, background color. And that's it.
What are we doing here? This is running on a Dragon, which is the same as a CoCo.
Yeah, but it's using the MSX2 board, which is a product you can buy. So this is kind of
this is
showing
where those colors are coming from. Or coming from that board.
Yep.
All right.
I like it.
I think I've fulfilled my obligation.
You have. You have checks in the mail.
There you go.
Cool, Tim. So the latest version is what, 2.3.3?
Maybe.
Okay. 'Cause I was just looking at that with the CocoPi thing too. We just did a MAME update.
Yeah, and the special ROMs you need for that, as well as the demo disc, is in the Dragon group on Facebook.
Yes.
And you can just download that, which includes everything Tim showed.
That's cool. Thank you, Tim, for pushing the MAME envelope. You're starting to compete with Nick Marotta.
Nick with the hair,
the luxurious
absolutely.
hair
That-
there, Tim.
that was
Look
the
at
first
you.
thing I thought of, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I haven't had a haircut in a year.
You're
and it
raising the
shows.
bar, man, on the beauty curve here, brother.
What luck to to have a full head of hair.
I guess that proves blondes have more fun, right? That's,
Yeah, especially if you dye it.
Far out. What's next, L. Curtis? Game On news?
No, that was Game On News.
Oh, that was Game.
That is the completion of the news segment for today for both parts of it.
Sorry, because I did step away. Cool. Good stuff. Yeah. So, Tim, I've been working for Ron Klein a little bit too on the CocoPi stuff, and I really like the whole MC10, MCX 128 booting up and loading up stuff off there. That's really cool.
I did a rejiggering of the way the MC10 and the MCX 128 operate. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Okay, and it works. It works very well. So, me likey.
Do you think I could show something else?
You can show whatever you want, Tim.
So I've been working on a keyboard, a music keyboard that uses a 6809.
Okay.
It's called the Insonic Mirage. And I would really like to show it off.
By all means, please do.
So this is just the control panel for the keyboard. The keyboard came out in the mid 80s. It was the first affordable sampling keyboard that was good.
Okay.
And so the idea is you would hook a tape recorder up to it, and you would record in samples that you then assign to keys on the keyboard.
Interesting.
It's like Stevie's soundboard kind.
Yeah, sort of. And so if you were a starving musician, you'd be able to buy a keyboard like this and just go out into the wild and start recording sounds and, create to your heart's content.
Wow.
But I have it hooked up to a software MIDI key.
Wow.
And
So
this
you
is
can
just me.
you can as you go higher up the scale, yeah.
What's it?
And all these squares here are buttons that you would normally do. So if you wanted to load more, you would do.
Now, where is this emulator coming from? Are you developing the emulator for it?
No, this is in MAME.
Oh, MAME can emulate the device already.
Okay.
Yeah. So it also came with a floppy drive so that you could record the sound or save the sounds that you've sampled to the floppy. And a bunch of people created their own sounds and sold floppies for them back in the day. It uses the Apple IIGS sound chip.
Okay, that's an Ensonic. That's where the Ensonic comes from.
Yep.
Okay.
And a few weeks ago, I got it working, playing sounds, and of course, it has a 6809 in it. So it's
And you have the real hardware of this then?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay.
They still go for they're really expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this wasn't just for the Dragon /CoCo. This was a multi-platform. This is
a music keyboard.
Yeah,
music synthesizer.
Yeah, this is a music keyboard. So that's something I've been working on.
So you're building the emulator for it?
I'm building the driver for MAME.
Okay. That's
what is it? What are those? The original hardware? What's that going for these days on eBay?
About $400 to $600.
That is crazy. Yeah. The analog. Well, it's not even an analog synthesizer though, is it? It's just a MIDI keyboard.
It's an analog digital to analog, right?
It's a digital synthesizer using sample wavetables.
And
it's got 128K of memory to load samples into. The keyboard can be split into half, and it also has a built-in sequencer. You saw the buttons and you saw the display. It's really difficult to use, but it is there.
Well, that's cool that you're building that thing, man.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I can barely figure out how to use MAME, but people who can make drivers for MAME and generate things that work inside of MAME, that's like a whole nother level. So, cool. Excellent,
And
excellent.
Sort of on topic.
It is. It's 6809 related.
Yep.
So, cool. What's the What's the one that Danny O'Connor was showing us? The one that Herbie Hancock used and stuff. That's the
Fairlight.
Fairlight. Okay, so this is like you're saying this was a cost, reasonably priced one. Like the Fairlight was like not for civilians, right? So
right.
Cool.
Yeah, stuff. I believe they sold new for $1,000 to $1,500 back in the 80s.
Okay. I actually, when I worked at Radio Shack, there was a sampling keyboard. It was probably Casio, relabeled, but you actually held down record, and you could record one thing into it and then play it back out.
I had a sampling keyboard just like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say hello, and then you play off the scale, and your voice would get higher. I loved it. It was great.
That was like 87 era around that time.
I was 6 at that time. So.
Okay, so. Cool beans. All right, so we've covered all the news. We've covered news, and Game On news.
Yeah, I guess we'll do the pre-announcement now. We might as well tail it in on the news here about upcoming shows. So we've talked about the fact we're going to have a Dragon special near the end of July, beginning of August sometime, where we're going to have the details. We'll let you guys know as soon as that happens here. But we're going to get a lot of Dragon guests on here, including some of the people who are in the chat right now. We also got 2 interviews coming up the next 2 weeks. So next week is Marcus Bloomrich. So for you old timers that were around in the 90s, Marcus ran the premier CoCo webpage. So we'll be going through some history of him. And he lived down the street from me when we were both young, literally a block away. Joined the CoCo Club with me, and he's a couple years younger than I am, so he's not ancient. But he'll have a bunch of stories about some of the old club meetings, and have stories about setting up the website and stuff. That because his website for the CoCo, which I think he started in '97, was the one that inspired me to start my game site a year later. So the reason there's a game site now is because Marcus did that site in the first place. So he'll be our interviewee for next week. The week after that, we have Sheldon McDonald, who of course did the Treasure Island Defense, which is a game that uses the CoCo VGA for the CoCo 1 and 2 to do 16-color graphics. It also has sound chip support for the PSG and the GMC game cartridges. And he actually designed his own custom 3D printed case for the game itself that we've shown on the show before too. So we'll be talking about all that. Plus, he's actually been developing a lot of developer tools and stuff too, like an IDE and stuff too, that we'll be getting into that as well. So that'll be not this next show on the 10th, but on the 17th. So that's the 2 booked guests we have for the next 2 weeks. And then the Dragon special sometime after that.
Very cool. We're getting some really cool guests. Thank you for doing that, Curtis. And I just want to remind everybody listening and watching too that we want to hear from everybody. So I'm going to throw out that plea again. If you ever want to come on the show, we'd love to hear from you. It doesn't have to be a formal interview. We can make it a formal interview if you just want to come on and join the panel and talk, but we'd just love to hear from more people from the community that are out there. If you're watching our show or listening to our show and you like what we're doing, then why not join us on the panel at some point in time? That offer is open to everybody, regardless of what your resume is, right? You don't have to be a hardware expert or whatever, right? So
thank God, because I wouldn't be on.
Right, unless you like to burn your hair with soldering iron, and you're still welcome.
See you guys later.
So cool, yeah. Look forward to that, and look forward to the Dragon Talk special. That's been we've been thinking about it and talking about it and dreaming about it forever, but now the planets are starting to align, right? Yeah. Jeremy says, "I want to be the middle spot in the Hollywood Squares." We can make that happen. We can put that in your writer, where you get that. If you need all the brown M&Ms removed, we can do that too. You just let us know. We'll do that. I don't think we could. If you have luxurious hair, I'm not sure we'll let you on though, because we do have a 2 gorgeous hair count. So right now, Nick Marotta and Tim have that covered. So
and 2 gorgeous beard count too.
Oh yeah, there we go. So we got Ron and Rick there. So Grant Lead, no Grant Leadies. Nope, sorry. Almost everyone. What's next, L. Curtis? Are we into the project update and acquisition part of the show?
You betcha. So is Brian Wiesler still on? Because I think he probably had some stuff to... Yeah, I'm guessing because Brian's on, there's got to be something, right? I've also got something to show too, but I'll save it for later.
All right, Brian, you want to go first on the updates and acquisitions side of things?
Yeah, I got a few things that have kind of been showing up this week. I was a little hesitant. I did buy some 6809s from a local, a US vendor through eBay. But I was a little hesitant to buy some of the stuff from Japan because I've heard bad stories, but the price was low enough. And so I went ahead and bit the bullet. and I don't know, it came as a group, but I got each one of these sleeves has 4 processors in it.
Okay.
But the price was low enough. I picked up 5 sleeves of these.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my gosh!
Whole stack of processors here. Like I
I'm
talked
hoping
about
you're
last
going to
week.
plan on selling these to people that need 609s, right? You're not
Well,
holding them.
that's what I'm looking for, because I mean, some of the stock might disappear. So yeah, I mean, I'll have.
What are you talking about? He's gonna fill those in his own machines.
Yeah, right.
He's got just right number to fill all the ones on that shelf, set of shelves behind him, right?
Exactly. Just like last week when I talked about the 6809s, I just kind of gave it the alcohol swab test, only because I've seen so many videos out there where they talk about the fact that shady vendors will paint over them and just put printing over them to say it is something and sell it. But the ink didn't come off, so I'm going to assume that these are the real McCoys, but I'll be testing them. Also from the same vendor, I picked up 4 sleeves of 6821s.
Oh, the PAs, okay.
Yep, so those are the PIAs, and those also passed the alcohol test as well. So I got those.
That's a different alcohol test than you use, right, John?
Listen, the alcohol test I use, it's a different thing.
Yeah, that's the CoCoTALK alcohol test. It's if you're
since
watching
I did
CoCoTALK more than an hour, you need alcohol. I think so. Anyway, go ahead, Brian.
No, it's fine. And since I did buy some processors, I went ahead and picked up some 40-pin sockets. So if you're going to go ahead and desolder a processor, might as well throw a socket in.
What is the deal with these things coming in these long, sheets of?
Yeah, the IC chips and stuff like that over the years, this is how they ship them. It's kind of you can see it's kind of a channel there.
Yeah,
and
it's so interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's an anti-static material too. So it's just
I've never seen them that long before.
It actually will hold up under getting banged around a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
so
of course
how many sockets? How many sockets per sheet?
Well, it really kind of depends. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, there's different sizes of the sleeves, so it's
okay.
Yeah, Rick, you might know. I mean, I don't know how long these things can come though, but over the years when I've ordered chips and stuff like that, they come in various lengths. Usually they just cut it to whatever length that you need for your order. So if you're ordering 1 or if you're ordering 20, they'll cut it to the right length and ship it to you. So
okay.
Yeah. What else do I got here to share today? A couple different serial to parallel. So this is the one made by Metric. It's their Model 1 interface.
I remember that one.
Yeah, so it goes from your serial connection there on the back of the CoCo to your parallel.
Then you need a baud rate selector.
Is that buffer?
I don't know if this one had the buffer or not. There was a couple different models that they had. They had a one. See, I printed out the sheet because I was going to look at it a little bit closer. They had a model 101, 104, and a 105. And as I'm reading here, this one does not have a buffer. And as I'm reading just through the quick specs here, I don't see that nothing's popping out at me that any of them had any sort of a buffer built into them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was this one. And then there's another one out there that people have probably seen too. It's the Blue Streak Ultima.
Blue Streak Ultima, yeah.
Yep. And
That was a nice compact one because most of the other ones are pretty large.
And this one here also had your selector there too. So this one came in this past week. What else do I got here? So I got this joystick. I had never seen the brand before. I'm probably going to obliterate it here, and it's going to sound worse than it really is. Endicott?
Oh, yeah.
Endicott. Endicott software there. So
that was one of the earlier ones from like the early 80s.
Oh, wow.
So
it's based on the original Tandy design, but with the button.
Yeah, that looks like the Dragon joystick.
Wow.
Sort of, yeah, kind of a shorter version of the Dragon joystick. Yeah.
What shocks me about that is how you've got the cord sort of knotted up there at the end. I thought that was the length of the, length of the whole thing.
Yeah, were they based in New York?
They were Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Alabama.
I remember the very first Rainbow I ever bought from August of '82. That was one of the ones advertised in it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it feels just like the 38 or the 3008, the Black Beauty we talk about. So,
yeah, it's got the metal.
And the older Black Beauty with the aluminum handle.
The metal handle.
Yep. So that one that came in. That was kind of fun. Also, too, from a little known hardware vendor out there, we don't hear much about there, Mr.
Coco Man.
And,
that was a loser company, wasn't it? No,
yeah, failing. Lousy products. But I wanted to get another one of his SCART cables. So,
Okay.
So that came in. So I wanted to get a second one for that, because it does give a nice output. And then also this last week I was in Des Moines, Iowa, for work, and so the timing worked out. You may have saw a post from Alton Savage, was his name, and he had a list of stuff that he was wanting to sell. He didn't want to deal with shipping, so it had to be local pickup and everything. And so from him, I did get this nice, clean, working CoCo 3.
Nice.
Because you don't have enough of them, or what?
I don't not have enough of them. So, but the price was right, so got that. Also, a second CoCo 3. This one's been upgraded though. This one has a 512 in it. The upgrade one is one that I do not have. Let me take the cover off here. It's an upgrade made by J&R Electronics. So you can see that
What
board
the
there.
hell?
So,
Holy mother of
Yeah, I remember that
memory
one.
boards.
I
Yeah,
got one
big
of
one.
those.
Do your lights
It's a big one
flicker
there.
when you turn that thing on?
Exactly. Yeah, you can kind of warm your keep your coffee warm with that one there. But this one we had listed as not working. And actually, while I was sitting here on the show listening to Curtis did the news, I popped the cover off, reseated the gimme, and now we have a working.
I was to say, you reseat the gimme, I reseat the RAM too. So
Yep.
What
And
was
also,
that?
I was just going to say congratulations for not falling asleep during the news, and you actually got a chance to test it.
Exactly.
Now, what's that
And,
red button for? Is that the reset or?
That's the reset, because of course reaching just behind the CoCo is just a little too far. So let's drill a hole in the top of the CoCo and put a hole there.
Now hold up, let me look at that badge. What the hell kind of 512K badge is that? Is that like one of those things where you like
jury rigged homemade?
Turned the dial and crimped the letters into the thing?
That's exactly. Steve,
what were those
it
things
is.
called? Those old label makers? Yeah. So it's
the label.
Dymo.
Okay. You
Dymo.
had the wheel and you turned the wheel to the certain leather and you squeezed the crimper.
Yep, and he did a very nice job. He even cut it at an angle so to.
Yeah, 512K CoCo. Yeah, listen, that's an embossed RAM badge. So.
Yep. Yeah, he did a nice job.
Ahead of its time.
But of course, reaching from here to here.
Yeah, well, probably you would get like a 2nd-degree burn crossing that grill there from all the heat going on inside. So that was for safety's sake.
Yeah, safety measure. It was part of FCC regulations, I think.
That might have been it. So, and then lastly, one other thing that he also had.
But wait,
Yeah,
there's
A
more.
third CoCo 3.
No, not a third
For
CoCo
those
3.
of you wondering why you can't get CoCo 3s on eBay, here's your reason.
Well, the thing is that he, like I said, he didn't want to ship anything. So if you can't get to Des Moines, you were kind of SOL. So.
And who'd want to? So.
And who would want to?
Hey, that's a home microware, man.
Home of microware, yes. Yeah, we could talk about that too. That kind of caused a little bit of a controversy, or not controversy, conversation is what I meant to say. So. It's still kind of ironing out there. Yeah, so I mean, because Boise chimed in and Alan Huffman did, and then someone named Kim, who must have been there back in the day there. So
James Jones was there too. I don't know if he's in chat today or not.
Okay, yeah, because the location that I thought I was at, from what I'm understanding, it sounds like maybe that might have been the original location back in '82 before they moved to the location that Boise and Alan Huffman were commenting about. So I don't know.
Yeah, they upsized a few times from what I remember. So
right. Well, he also had a couple CM8s.
No, what a
so
shame. Does it have a door? No door. No door.
No door. So it's a proper CM8.
Throw it away.
Is it
Throw it away. It's worthless.
Just send it here because you might. I'll recycle it for you.
You'll recycle it for me. You got a vendor there, so.
Send it to John. He can have the authentic 1986 feel then.
There you go. I think that's all I got to share with you.
Oh, what a loser!
So.
What a liar!
What a loser you are!
I know. I could probably.
So Brian, this is my weekly ask about how
yep.
your mega project thing.
It's coming.
Okay,
It's
James
coming
Jones says that was Kim Kempf. He was at Microware not longer than I was, and continued on to Radisys.
Okay. So, and I guess as he's listening there, so that location back in '82 was that the original location?
Actually, can you share the screen in case James hasn't seen that, and also so our viewers can see it as well if you have that picture?
I don't. I can bring it up here though. It'll take me just a moment here to
Because some of our listeners and viewers actually don't do Facebook, so they never would have seen it.
Oh, okay. Give me 1 second here, I guess. And
so James, in the chat there, if you want to, let us know if that's the original location, etc., or an older location anyway.
Let's see here.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but
no, that's fine. I just don't.
I got to keep my reputation up of being a jerk on the show.
Right.
So.
You're doing a great job so far, Curtis. You haven't missed a beat. You haven't missed a beat. So.
Yeah, thanks, whack off there. That's fine.
Okay, let's see here. I'm sorry. Let me try to navigate through this thing we call.
Whilst he's navigating, does anybody else have anything to present on?
James says Kim mentioned a location on the east side, but of course it started at an apartment near Drake University.
Yeah, because I think the three people that founded Mike were Ken Kaplan, etc. I think they were actually at Drake University when they started it up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, while he's looking, as you were asking, Curtis, does anybody else have? Oh, he's sharing. He's sharing. There we go. There he is. And there's a building in the background there. Looks like.
Yep.
Now, I will point out Brian's only 2 feet tall, and he's actually standing on a stack of Coco 3s to get his height up. So.
Oh my! Yes, there we go. So yes, yeah. It's kind of a it's a 2-story here, and then there's this wing off to my shoulder there. That actually goes to the front of the store, and there is a lawyer's office in the front there, and I'm not sure what this was here, but yeah.
There's a picture on the side there from Alan Huffman. Is that the later? Michael?
Let's see here. So from what they were reading, yeah, there was a location on 140th Street and then 118th Street, I think. So they must have moved to. I think they must have moved to this location, and then Boise commented that they built a new building, and that must have been the one that was on 118th Street.
Okay, so that had at least 4 locations then, by the sounds of it. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, it's cool that you got to visit a piece of history there. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do it because I actually probably go to Des Moines 4 or 5 times a year for my work.
Did you check the basement to see if the prototype Gimme or CoCo 4 was in there by any chance?
Was in there? No, I should venture in there. So yes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. So it was kind of fun to go kind of scout around a little bit during lunch. So
cool.
So, yep. That's what I have.
Far out, man.
Anybody else got any project updates or acquisitions? Nick Marentes, I don't think you're quite ready enough for your next zero-hour blog
not yet.
demo thingy.
No, not yet.
Why is my Zoom all screwed up right now? I think, do I still have Brian Spotlit? No, I don't know what the hell's going on right now. Why is my Zoom all screwed up?
Yes, Zoom was doing that to me last
Gallery
week.
view. Okay, I'm back into gallery view. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Okay. We're back in gallery view. Okay, project updates, acquisitions, show and tell, stories to tell, feelings to share. Anyone?
I'm sad that all the Coco 3s are only going to one person.
You know what? Here's the thing. We tease Brian because it's easy. But there was I was looking at another retro marketplace, and there was a guy posting the fact that he had like 5 different Apple Lisa sets that he had. He goes, look, these were mine. These were original. I boxed them up. I haven't touched them in 30 years, but these are 4 or 5 different sets, and here's what I want for them. Has prices. And then people are beating the guy up on Facebook just because he's posting a listing. It's like, I mean, people can be real scumbags sometimes. And it's like, one of the guys comments saying, listen, this guy has kept them out of the landfill for 30 years, so shut up, because,
Right.
just if you don't like what he's asking for him, if you don't like the fact that he's saying he hasn't tested him or whatever it is, don't be a dick, And it's
The
just
reason why anything is rare is because most people threw them out when they were old.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
right.
Yeah. No, I tease him in incessantly myself here too, but yeah. No, he's
Well,
preserving
and
them.
one of the things I do want to talk about when I get my video and some things together to talk about this lot that I picked up is that there is a number of there's quite a bit of hardware that I do plan on putting back out into the community, and one of the things that I also want to do is to supplement or oh no, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I want to supplement my collection though, but also I want to compare. Maybe he has something that's in better condition than mine. So there's a lot of hardware that I want to be putting out into the marketplace through different avenues. Not sure if it's going to be eBay, but it'll be somewhere. But yeah, so like as you guys were just saying, some of these machines like this here, I mean, I don't know what Alton was going to do if he couldn't sell these to anybody locally because he didn't want to ship them. What he just said, well, nobody's interested, and tossed him over his shoulder into the dumpster. You know, I don't know. So whenever there's opportunities like this, I'm not leaping because I want to be the only one to get it. I've seen it happen before where, I mean, not too long ago here, like 3 months ago, there was a guy that put a posting on Facebook. He had a Dragon 64, a Cano Dragon, and nobody commented. I commented to him, and he wanted a lot of money. I said, well, let me know if you have any interest. And I circled back 2 weeks later. He had no interest, so he took it to the local e-waste place. Perfectly good Cano Dragon. It's just he was wanting way more than I was willing to pay for it. But there was another lost Dragon that we had. So I mean, if we're not grabbing these things, and so this hardware that I do have, yeah, I know you guys tease me a lot and it bounces off me, and I it's just all good humor. I do plan on trying to get these out into the CoCo community, and that's the thing that I'm trying to work through is how am I going to do that? What avenue? Is it going to be Facebook Marketplace? Is it going to be Discord? Is it going to be eBay? I'm not sure because CoCo Fest, yes, because I want to bring this hardware out there, and I want to make it available, not for a $300 CoCo 3, maybe a $125 CoCo 3. You know, something that's more realistic. But at the same token, I don't want eBay flippers to grab this stuff, buy an inexpensive CoCo
then just mark it up double
and then mark it up and everything. So
immediately.
I really want to put this stuff into CoCo hands. So yeah, you'll see a lot of communication from me over the time as I get the opportunity to get through all this collection, and also then go through my hardware, because I have a lot of things that I want to, because I've bought other lots before, and so I have duplicates and things like that. So yeah, I'm going to be trying to get stuff out there, but it's just, like a lot of us, it's just time. But yeah, the main point I want to make though is that, yeah, I mean, a lot of times when I pick up on this stuff, it's because I just don't want to see it go somewhere. Exactly.
And one of the reasons I keep pestering and asking about it, because I do know you've mentioned before you have plans to give some of it back to the community, or at least sell it back to the community. And I want to make sure people do know that, because we do just about how much stuff you got. You can even see it just looking at your background there. And you want one of each unique model type thing, so you have a complete history of the CoCo and its peripherals. But then, as you said, you buy lots where you were looking for one or two things, but you had to get a bunch of other things with it you already have. So you are planning to return those community. I want to make sure that people are aware that stuff will be coming back out.
Yep. It's just not going to be, hidden in some dark closet. I mean, I have a lot of stuff in storage and everything because, it's only so much space. So, but I do want to cycle things in and out though. I'm actually looking at redoing what's behind me, and I want to kind of make it more of a revolving display where I can bring different things in and out a little bit easier.
Oh, you could get Ken make it to make a rotating LED thing that you could put something on there. That would be a revolving display. So
there you go.
That'll be the display of douchery.
Yep. So yeah, and I may actually bring, because I'm within a reasonable distance of CoCo Fest, I will probably be bringing a lot of stuff to CoCo Fest. So that'll be something I'll probably mention to people too as we get closer to, that it's maybe looking for some hardware. I might have something you're looking for that'll be at a really good price.
Right. So John, there's another hint for you and Aaron to coming out to CoCo Fest, because there'll be some hardware deals going down there.
Yeah. I've already got a CoCo 3, but I think that you're on the right track, man. I think that offering this stuff for sale at CoCo Fest versus just offering it, putting it on eBay or whatever, is a way to get it into the right hands, so it's not just flipped again for a higher price down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree.
Cool. All right, Curtis, you have something you want to show and tell, do you not, sir?
Yeah, if I'm the last one up, sure.
Last call for updates and acquisitions.
Well, while we're here, if anyone needs any disc controller chips.
Oh, talk about sleeves, man. Tubes. Talk about tubes of chips, right?
Tubes of WDC disc controllers.
1793 to 1773s. Just to play David Ladd for a moment.
These are just the 73s. I had a use for them 20 years ago, and as you can see, they're quite yellow now.
Yeah.
But
they've been exposed to sunlight.
You need to retro-bright your tubes, man.
Right?
Has your TRS morphed in the background there?
What happened now?
Did you have a Model 1, Patrick?
Oh, there was a Model 1. It's on the bench. Ostensibly, I'm going to fix its bad expansion box. And so I put the Model 4 back here to have something else.
Or 3, rather.
Oh, Model 3, yeah. The biggest, emptiest Model 3 you'll ever see. It is a cassette system, so there's not even mounting brackets for disk drives in that box.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It makes
That's
it
an
easier.
historic one.
Makes it easier to
must have sold a
repack.
fair number of those cassette ones at the first year or two, but after that, I imagine they all sold the disc drives.
And that thing was $1,000. It still got the sticker on it. Cassette.
Wow.
$1,000.
Yeah, the brackets came with the first drive kit, along with the power supply and the controller card.
And yeah, everything else that goes in the box to make it weigh more than 5 pounds.
All right, Curtis, you have the spotlight, sir.
Let me switch over to here. You're seeing my screen there?
MAME color computer tree.
And you can read the text?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a little update on that game project. I've been doing my Skunkworks Basic 9 project. So I've got a little bit more done. I don't have detection of colliding with enemies yet, but I can now walk between screens and pick up items. So I thought I'd just do a little demo.
Press joystick button. Oh.
And once again, this is completely in Basic 9. There's no machine language or anything else in here. So it's just to see what I can do in Basic. And this is a 6809, not a 6. It says 609 on the top, but it's running in 6809 mode. So this is like stock CoCo 3. System requirements will just be Nitrous 9 EOU with 512K CoCo 3, and a joystick, and that's pretty well it. And everything's being done on the CoCo. The coding itself, the testing, drawing the graphics is done with NV Canvas. And what the heck happened there?
Demo gods.
Yeah.
Perfect. This is a Windows 95 moment.
Yeah.
We'll do it live.
Yeah. I know I was in the midst of doing some changes. I was trying to make some changes before the show. I wonder if I broke something and saved it in that state.
Making some changes before the show is a sure
yeah, that's a
sign.
stupid idea. I
Yeah.
know. I agree. So. Not sure what happened there. So maybe talk amongst yourself. I'll just discontinue the share and see if we can get one here. I might have an older version of the kicking around.
Thank God for older versions.
Right. Cool. So what else is going on, everybody?
So is there anybody actively developing for the CoCo that is not part of the CoCoTALK family?
I'm sure. Yeah, there's lots of people. Like we cover them on the news. That well, one of them we're getting on here would be Sheldon McDonald.
Yeah, I just can't believe they don't want to come on here and plug their stuff. You know.
Remember the guy that did Digger?
Mm-hmm.
Chet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we get a copyright violation by mentioning that name, so we got to be careful.
Oh, I didn't. Well, all I said was Digger.
Yeah,
myself.
I know. Well, that could be a
I would
copyright
say.
violation. So, eject again, saying yeah. No, but there are plenty of people who are doing things, and some of the things are stuff Curtis is able to capture to put on the news. I'm sure there's stuff happening right now that we aren't aware of too. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's
out there.
quite a few people do like projects that they don't reveal until they're done. Not too many are like Nick, where they actually give you kind of sneak previews.
I guess that's something I didn't think about, but people they don't like to necessarily show you blow by blow what's going on in development. They just want to release it.
Plus, some people don't want to do the vaporware thing where they promise something and then real life interferes or something happens and then all of a sudden they can't do it and then
Is that like what you just did then, Curtis?
Oh, shut up, Nick. Actually, I think I figured what the problem was.
You're gonna fire it up again there, L. Curtis?
Well, I'm gonna actually try it briefly first to make sure it's fixed before I share the screen again. But I think I there was 2 older versions of the source code, and I think I just changed the wrong directory with the older version that was kind of in a state of flux capacitor or something here. So let me. I know this is riveting, just hearing me prattle, but
this is live debugging.
Yeah, you want to watch me code here for the next 3 hours? That'd be awesome. Actually, that was a successful show the last time I did that. Maybe I should. Let's make sure it's working this time.
I am starting to get a little bit hungry, so be happy when we put a fork in this so I can start putting a fork in something else.
Now, Stevie, are you still doing your game? You're working on that bomb game?
Sure. Yeah, I have the original version, which I was doing on the CoCo VGA. The only reason why not a lot of progress is being made is because I don't want to have all the hardware plugged in, having all the CoCo out here and everything else. So I did I did a real simple proof of concept, and I might just do a rewrite. But right now I'm actually thinking about getting more interested in just learning the assembly side of things. So
okay.
Let's try to start doing some of George's tips and tricks. Okay, here we go. Run Liberation.
So this is a test version, so I have some extra hack code that won't be in the final game. And one of them is if I'm rerunning it because I made a change, rather than reload all those stupid buffers, it'll just reload the maps and the details of the buffers, but not the buffers themselves, so it speeds up the load a little bit. So I will do that.
Okay.
And press joystick button, which is just a quick little lag. So this should go a little bit faster.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And the sound effects are neat. They're not your standard basic-y type sound effects.
Yeah, I tried to come up with something. I'm going to be doing something different. The one ML routine I'm going to do in here is a little sound player for doing very short digitized samples. So these are kind of placeholder sounds for now. Sorry, Ron?
Is there one when it finishes? Yep.
The mines, prison cell. This is really cool looking. You awaken.
And for those who have not seen the demo before, I'll let you read this briefly here before I... But basically, it's giving you kind of the premise of the game, at least enough of a start. Now, I will be doing some, I'm going to make the manual purposely a little bit vague. I'll give you some key things that you do need to know, but I want it to be a thing of exploration where you're kind of learning things on your own too.
I tell you what, so there's a game I just played on the Xbox that was a free download if you're a gold member, and it's called Planet Alpha. And it plays like a classic platformer, but there's a lot of you have to figure out how to solve puzzles and stuff. But it's a game where there's no narrative. You don't know who you are, where you are, or why you're there, and so you kind of learn as you go. It was really neat, very well done. The levels and the plays, it played very much like a 16-bit 2D platformer. Okay. Just using modern graphics and stuff. But the idea of not knowing where you are or why you're there, I find intriguing. Kind of like learning things along the way.
Wow, look at that.
This guy really swings his arms, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah, he's running, man. Now, I will mention MAME is running it a little bit slower than real hardware, but I do have some optimizations I have to still go through, and I haven't packed the whole thing down for Basic 9.
And these are
so basically the first few levels here, you're basically just timing. You can't shoot back at the robots, so you basically just have to duck into places and let them go by. So you just basically timing at this point.
Is that a gold key or a half of a skull face?
Does that answer your question?
You have found a key. Use the key. Save key to open doors. Yeah, that'd be a nice soundbite to pull out there from Gauntlet. Yeah, right. So, yeah, no, the color scheme is really nice. The characters are well designed. The animation's good.
Yep, just a little slow in this case because it's one, it's 6809, and two, it's not fully packed and compiled.
So for those of us that don't have the CPU, the 6309, is it going to run this fast whenever we try it on real hardware?
This is actually 6809 mode, so it'll run a little bit faster actually than this on real hardware.
Okay.
In fact, when I play it on real hardware now on 6809, my runs a little faster because MAME is a little bit slower for some reason on my machine, but that might be because I'm running it through Fusion on a Mac OS 10. So
I see.
And then I'm going to decide on how big the hit attack box of when it runs over you. I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway where you won't get hit if you just nudge the edge of him.
Right. And
then also the lives there are not just pure, each time you get hit, you lose a life because otherwise you'd be dead pretty quick. It's going to be each has, I don't remember the animation when the hearts grow up to the full size.
Yeah.
So it's 3 sizes of hearts, and every time you get hit, it's going to shrink. So you'll get 3 hits, then you're on to the next life type thing.
That's cool. Yeah, this is neat.
The little character has sunglasses on, huh?
Level 1, the mines. I like how the screen loads. Oh, now you have 2 keys. Yeah, this is really cool, Curtis.
Yep. So I'm just going to show you 1 or 2 more screens here. I'll just kind of skip over and not do everything you're supposed to do in the game here properly, just to get through it quick. But
and what is the E? Is that exit?
No, it's an energy charger.
Oh, energy charger. Oh, yeah.
Which you need a gun, otherwise it's useless. So.
Now, did you say that at some point you're going to actually acquire an offensive weapon?
Yep, I'll show you where that is actually on this next screen.
Okay.
So this is kind of a teaser thing. Like there's an energy charge for your gun, but you don't have a gun yet. In fact, I'm not even sure if I'm going to mention the directions you need the gun for, so I might let the player figure that out. We'll have to figure that out when I get into beta testing.
This game is perfect for me. You can't get hurt. Nothing happens. Walk around.
It's not too fast.
Yeah.
There's a gun.
And there's one spot where when you first come on here, that robot's coming right at you at the start, and you're still not armed yet, so you have to literally run and get up the hallway quickly. So your player will probably die because most people stand and look at the screen first.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be like a jump scare type thing that, once you know it's there, it's easy to get around. This odd colored rock here is one that once you get the gun, you'll be able to shoot it and destroy it.
Okay. This is really cool, Curtis. Very good quality.
I guess I should have grabbed the key in the other room. Now I'm going to have to wander all the way over here, unlock the door to get to the gun. And you'll see a boulder on the left hand.
Will that fall? Gravity?
Not gravity, but you will be able to push it.
Okay. And will it block the Hoover vacuum looking things there?
Yep.
Okay.
And you notice if you get an object for the second time, it doesn't pop up the overlay because you know what it is. So it's meant as an introduction to what each object is. It'll pop up an overlay telling you what it is the first time you encounter it, and then never again.
Ken wants to know, will the boulder bounce?
No.
Is this based off of another, off of a game, or is this like
You found a gun.
No, I'm trying to be original on this one. Like maybe people have played a ton of arcade games. Maybe I'm, unintentionally borrowing stuff from other things, but I'm trying to make an original style game.
It's not derived from anything. It's probably inspired from a lot of stuff in this genre. Like I'm thinking like Night Stalker, things like that. There's a lot of games, Wizard of War, there's a million games you could say that, well, they take place in a maze and you're shooting at things and things are moving around. So those mechanics are not new, but what you do with them.
Yeah, one thing I will mention here, I mentioned it to Nick when I was doing testing here, but like when the player's running sideways, his head bobs up and down a little bit, and once it's animated faster, it'll look a bit more smooth. But you'll notice that I kind of tried to simulate that by having him like run a little bit fast and slow down as he's taking steps. And I found out that psychologically, when you're trying to get away from a robot that's coming at you at a different angle and you're trying to run up a corridor to get away from it, it actually makes it more suspenseful, because even though you know the exact pace it's going to speed up and slow down, so you know how long it's going to take to get up, it actually makes you think, maybe I'm not going to make it, maybe I'm going to get hit type thing. So that was an accident. And Nick and I talked about sometimes you do a programming and it's actually a bug and it actually turns out to be better than your original plan. That's one of them.
But don't tell anyone.
Oh, whoops, sorry. There goes my Lamborghini, damn it.
You gotta relabel it as a feature.
Pedro's asking if you drew everything, if you just did.
Yes. And God, is that a pain in the ass? I'm not an artist.
Yeah, the diamonds look good. Everything looks good so far that we're seeing.
The initial coding of this to get it up, like the editor for making the maps and the actual, the core code to start animating and drawing screens took me 2 weeks. It took me longer than that just to draw the stupid tiles.
Yeah. Jeremy says there are no such thing as bugs, only happy accidents. To quote Bob Ross, right? You found a mined gem, adds to your score. Woohoo!
That's a 1,000-point bonus there.
Nice.
I do, some people may think it's stupid, but I do like the fact that you explain things as you pick them up, because I've played so many games where I collect things and there's never any explanation of what they do. Yeah.
I mean, the discovery points for me are like, you'll find that there's certain ways you should go through the maze, because otherwise you can get to the point where you've used up a key and you can't get to something, so you have to wander back screens to get an extra key. So there's definitely optimized ways to go through things. You'll kind of discover those as you go. And technically, you could theoretically push a boulder and actually block yourself up from finishing, in which case I'll have to have a force restart or something like that. But I'll kind of figure those out as I go type thing.
this an idea that you've had sketched out on paper, so to speak, for a while, or is this?
Yeah, and there's like I'm planning on having 5 or 6 levels by the time I'm done, and like this first level is I'll spoil that right now. There's 9 screens on the first level, and some of the levels are bigger. So,
I mean, but is this like an idea that you had like 3 years ago? You just never really got around to it, or?
No, I think I just started on it last year. Actually, it was going to be like a COVID project. And here's my first bug that I got to fix here, because I'm actually popping onto that diamond, but because I normally have pickups, you run into them, because this drops you right onto it. It doesn't actually detect it. So if I exit the room and come back in, the diamond's still there and you don't get points. So I got to fix that. But and you'll see in the upper left corner, I have a robot. He's supposed to actually be moving, not just animated, because he's a vertical moving robot. So it's the first level where you see those. So there's, gradually things get added, things get a bit more complex.
I like it. It looks really good.
And this is basic. You got to keep telling yourself that it's not.
Yep. Oops. Now it's trying to go to a file. I didn't want to do that. I'll just go to the screen here. It'll be easier to see anyway.
Just hit clear.
Just hit clear.
So you're looking at an engine and transmission out of a Lamborghini on this one.
So here's like some of the actual code here. That's the main outlying program that kind of commands and brings in modules. The other thing I want to do here is to show a basic 9 program where the game's bigger than 64K. So the main liberation program itself here is kind of like it does the preset. It has some common routines at all the different levels we use, like reading the joystick and the keyboard and that kind of stuff. And then for each level you're in, each set of screens, it's going to bring in a module for that specific one. So I can have completely different shapes, different physics, different dynamics, everything. I won't in every level. I'll probably use some common ones, but you can basically just keep bringing in chunks, 16 or 24K chunks of program and just map them in as you need them while this part stays in there all the time. So this is basically just all basic 9 code.
Yeah.
Oh, could you scroll back about 5 screens? I missed that one. No,
5. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I think we found your bug, Curtis. It's right there. It's right there.
So
cool stuff. Very impressive.
Very impressive.
Visually stunning. This is on par with like Nick and Tim's hair, and just how luxurious it looks.
We're talking about that slow scrolling MSX thing. That's kind of the same thing you're seeing here. Of course, we're doing it by brute force with 32K screen. So
Curtis,
on the 609, this runs much faster.
Go to UI mode and hit page down.
You mean to speed it up, or?
Yeah.
Nah. I'm trying to write this. I'm trying to get this to run on the actual CoCo. So when I run it in MAME, it's just to demo it.
No, I wanted you to speed up the scrolling. That's all.
Oh. Well, I will say the 639 is much, much faster at scrolling, and the Gimme X with the 639 is even much faster yet. So you have some options even on the real hardware.
Are you going to have to put in any type of wait states at some point in time where the game might end up, you might have to have it wait on like frame locking or something?
Well, the animation, I've got a palette animation that's flashing the name of the level that you may have seen, and also the robot's eyes pulse, and the E and energy pulses as well. So those are things actually are done using palettes that I'm actually basing on the clock ticks.
Okay.
Now, there was plans in the level 2 version 3 upgrade. There's actually going to be a system call that's called Animate Palette, which will do this for you at the system level. I'm cheating and doing it through Basic 9 right now itself. Basic 9's time function only gives you seconds. It doesn't give you parts of a second. So what I'm doing is I'm actually going into the system RAM, so the system processor OS9 itself, and I'm grabbing the tick counter and telling it to copy it across to my process. And then I do a logical AND on that to do it. I think it's every 20 or 15 or something like that ticks that it'll change the palettes. But you'll notice that on some of the screens that are busier, it'll sometimes miss them every once in a while, so it'll not quite animate consistently at the same speed. I'm hoping once I pack it, and also if I do get that animate palette command in the operating system before I release the game itself, that it'll totally smooth that over. But it doesn't look too bad. I mean, you guys didn't complain about it being all wacky. So.
No. David Craker is asking for an After Dark episode with code walkthrough. So, and speaking.
Well, I will mention this. I actually am planning on selling this, not for very much, but it's going to be a fundraiser for Nitrous 9 EOU, basically, because we're not allowed to charge for Nitrous 9 with our agreement with Microware. So this will be just kind of a silly little fundraiser, but it's going to include all the source code. I'm not going to just pack it and give you the executables and away you go. It's going to have, documentation on the code. It's going to have actual code itself, the entire thing, including the level editor and stuff too that I haven't shown before. So,
well, and speaking of code walkthrough, Rick Adams is wanting to do something as well on the show.
Oh yeah, that's an announcement I forgot to say. So yeah,
please so Rick Adams is going to want to do some taking a look at some of his older games or newer games or whatever, and just show not necessarily how to write the game, but how to just kind of source code, looking at a few things in assembly. On some of the games he's made, and showing us and kind of talking through some of the code on pieces of that. And one of the things that I thought would be neat to see, because what I'm loving with what George J is doing right now is, the whole XY coordinate, putting something on the screen on the VDG screen. If I can see it and visualize it and mentally put something where I'm thinking on purpose type stuff, that really helps me grasp the concepts. And so one of the things I'd asked Rick about when he pitched this idea to me was, I go, you know what I'd love to see? I would love to see how you do fonts on a graphic screen, because it's something we take for granted. You look at Temple of Rom, it's got that really cool writing across the screen. How the hell is he doing it? How did he design the fonts themselves in assembly code? And then what's he using them to put on the screen? How is he doing basically a print command on a graphic screen? So that was just one suggestion. I said, that's something I'd love to see, just how to blast a font in assembly. So I'm not sure what he's going to show us, but that was an idea that I had that I personally would like to see how to do, because these are things I'm going to want to know how to do one of these days too, so yep. Yeah. And I had also mentioned to Tim Lidner, who's here now too, I love it when you give us some updates on what you're doing on MAME, and then every now and then if you have something we can throw in the newsletter for that would be great, because we did that one, I think, in the year-end wrap-up, a MAME update. So from time to time, when you've got some little tidbits on what's been done to MAME, if we could talk about that on the show and throw that in the newsletter, that would be great. Mm-hmm. I did give you thanks before you got here about helping me edit everything this time around, so
you're welcome. A lot of fun.
Yeah. Cool. Good times. What else? What have we not said? What have we not done?
We've not said that Tony Pedraza is doing better.
That is true. We haven't said
right.
it. Yes. Thank you, Ron Delvaux. Yes. So during the course of the week, Tony Pedraza, former vice president of Glenside Color Computer Club and the kind of CoCo Fest coordinator, whatnot, was in the hospital. Now he's out of the hospital, had some scares with the heart and had some stuff going on, but he's home, he's recovering, and that's good. So, yes, thank you for reminding us on that. Yes. Always good to hear when that happens. Which, it's like, dude, none of us are getting any younger, and that's why I'm looking forward to CoCo Fest. I want to see people, so good times. And yeah, speedy recovery, Tony. What else? What have we not said?
I think he's back home now. He's actually told the other.
Yeah, I saw a picture on Facebook from Linda where he's home. Yeah, I think one of the notes was, he was saying, just to show you his sense of humor, is like, I guess is somehow he had some pain in his ribs, either from when he fell or when they were defibrillating him or something. But he's saying the worst part is that when you have sore ribs, it's hard to laugh, and not being able to laugh was for him worse than actually having died from the heart attack. It was, so he's like, I just can't wait till I can laugh again where it doesn't hurt. So, Jeremy Lauder says, speak for yourself. I'm getting younger. Okay, so cool. So look forward to that Rick Adams thing. And yeah, I mean, we keep saying, we should do an After Dark, and I'm not opposed to doing the After Dark. I'm not sure I'm going to be awake enough to do it, but that's why I'm trying to get other people to be backup streamers. But theoretically, we could do an After Dark any evening. That it requires at least two things. It requires at least one or two people to actually want to do the show, and then requires a person to stream it. And sometimes I'm awake enough or not in a food coma enough to do it, or maybe that's something Mark B might want to do, and we're trying to get other people to do it too. But I would love to get to the point where at any given time, if somebody wants to spin up a show and do it, that we can. We have people who have access to the stuff to be able to do it. It's just coordinating that. Sometimes
there's Discord.
There's always Discord. If you want an After Dark, just get on Discord. Then we don't have to stream that. You just remember what happens on Discord stays on Discord, right? So, cool. Anything else that we haven't mentioned or not mentioned? Well, you guys were asking me about. Somebody asked me, am I going to continue to work on my game? I mean, all these things are things that I'll do as my time and energy permit. But another thing, a pet project that I haven't started, but I'm getting more motivated to start, especially listening to the interview of Stefan, was, adventure games, because that was one of my original early motivations and passions to get into computing too, was not only to be able to play games on the CoCo, but to play adventure games. And the reason why I got interested in adventure games is because before I got a computer, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, so your pen and paper RPGs, right? And so the whole imagining where you are, the dungeon master saying, yes, you're in a room and it is 5 feet wide by 10 feet deep, all these things that we did in person, to me, as like, okay, if I'm playing a text adventure, that's like a single player version of Dungeons and Dragons. It's the same idea. You have to mentally imagine where you are and do things. So I've been interested in text adventures as long as I've been interested in computers. And so that's been kind of, that's very sentimental for me. And I have something in my mind where I want to create my own kind of text adventure game engine, but just make it a little bit not so scrolly, have certain things always on the screen in different like windows or compartments and stuff. So all this stuff has been turning in my mind. A lot of this was inspired by stuff I saw from Curtis showing us stuff on the Dragon, some of those Dragon games that keep certain things on the screen, so I've had all these little seeds that have been planted, and this is one of my many passion projects. But I might, in addition to trying to learn assembly, I might start leaning towards working on that. And part of me is saying, okay, listen, this Inform engine and this Z interpreter, all these things are already there. So why do I want to write a program to do an adventure game? But sometimes that's just the fun. It's like kind of like Nick Marentes. He's not going to take somebody else's sprite compiler. He's going to do it himself. So sometimes it's just a challenge.
Because he's old and stubborn.
Yeah. So yes,
stupid.
Listening to Stefan's interview, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't necessarily need to write the engine. The engines are out there, but I kind of want to write the engine because, for all the same reasons we do what we do, because we're crazy, right? So, but yeah, I think just adding a splash of color and a little bit of segmented screen panels to the same format might just be a nice little
like you were
spin.
mentioning when I showed that Stranded at a Gas game that we added on to the latest EOU release that Sheldon, or who was it? Sean Driscoll did back in the day.
Yeah.
Where you had the little 3D look and you had the different areas for, inventory and senior.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff, and that's been going on since the Apple II. They've had games like that have had the split screen and the status and all that kind of stuff. So, all kinds of things in the back of the brain to work on. So, cool. Are we ready to put a fork in this one?
We could. Well, I could do. I know you want to get going though, but since Tim was on, I do have an acquisition that I got from Tim.
Go ahead.
I just bought it 5 minutes ago.
Just 5 minutes ago. But I could do a quick little flash through real quick on just some of the items from the box, and maybe Tim has a comment or two. If not, I'll just do a quick little flash just to show some of the things that were in the box, because it was kind of he has some nice stuff that he was.
My first question is: this part of the Marty Goodman collection?
Partially and partially selling off my childhood.
Oh,
there we go. Okay, so I'll just quickly, like I said, I'll flash through some of the stuff here that was in the group there. So,
Forest of Doom.
Forest of Doom. Nice box of Home Publisher, which we need there. This isn't going to be in any particular order, just the stack that I pulled it out of the box there. So, one-liners for the color computer.
Take my wife, please.
Take my CoCo, please.
Max Edit.
Ooh.
1.0.
What was that? Was that
I think that was a font editor for Max 10.
Okay.
Also, the discs are in a box, but these are all the little inserts from the Rainbow on Discs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So, and all the discs are in another box down here. So, but
and I archived those a long time ago and put them up.
So they're all in the archive already.
Yeah.
Cool. And then Desert Rider.
Steve York's game.
Here we are.
Max 10.
Ken says, "Is that a disc in a box?" It's just my disc in a box.
Oh, we have an interesting group, don't we?
Does anybody else have any experience with Max 10? Am I the only one who's ever used it?
I used it for my catalog for a long time.
Yeah, I love that program. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's one of the
loved
best programs. It was one of the hidden secrets, and they sold it as a bundle with CocoMax 3, I think. And it was like an awesome desktop publishing system.
Ron, you use this, don't you, for some of your things?
I have in the past.
Yeah.
Loved it.
CocoMax 3?
3? Yeah, that was a companion piece for it.
This is Those Darn Marbles special effects disc.
Yeah, so Bleak Triad, that's a Canadian company that did a version of Marble Maze for the Coco 3 512K with hardware vertical scrolling.
Okay.
16 colors, awesome.
I'll be checking that one out.
Digitized sound effects too.
Biosphere.
Nice.
Yep, that one's on EOU right now if you want to try it.
There we go. Some cooking tips there with.
Is that Gordon Ramsay? Or is
it may.
The Swedish chef.
This is the cookbook there. So
I know they should have a little balloon with a bunch of swear words in it, shouldn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And there's
the boxed one there. So yep. And then ADOS. Here, so.
Art Flexor. That's the original ADOS for the Coco 1 and 2 too, because he made an ADOS 3 and ADOS 3 extended for the Coco 3.
And then The Rainbow Volume 1, Number 1.
Holy crap!
That's the reprint from.
Yeah, that's the reprint that they included with Rainbow. I have that one too.
Right.
And the free coffee stain.
Yeah.
And the free coffee stain. But still, I just like the look of it because it has that paper.
Wow.
So I just
We're
love
not
it, so.
Without laboratory
I can't tell,
results.
Tim,
We
was
can't
that a
tell if
medium
it's
or a
actually
dark roast coffee you were having?
Yes. Here we taste it there. And then Nick here, we got some Australian
OS 9
newsletter.
Yep.
Yes, I'm sure
that's Nick's favorite. It has OS 9 in the title. So
Yeah,
exactly. There you go.
Crikey.
A service manual for the speech sound pack.
Oh yeah, because there were lots of things that needed to be serviced in that cartridge, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Every now and then you had to tighten up a nut or a bolt in it, right? So
That just showed up on eBay one day. That was an amazing find.
the service manual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sands of
Sands
Egypt.
of Egypt, nice.
Yep. And then
This is phase 2 of Brian.
Right.
Rainbow Fest.
Oh yeah,
bag.
the
Look at that.
The bags they give you for free at Rainbow Fest to haul all your loot and your emotional stuff.
There you go. So, yeah, that was kind of neat.
I might still have some of those.
Did you say emotional stuff or promotional stuff?
Yeah, it's emotional baggage. That's why it's a bag.
Here's a bag for all my emotional baggage. I need a bigger bag, man.
My bag's got a hole in the bottom.
Yeah.
And the tech sheets there for the 1647 and the 21.
Look at
Real
that.
data sheets.
Real data.
Tim, where do you live, Tim?
And then MicroWorks.
Oh, the Macro AC
Macro.
assembler. Cool.
Yep.
That's what Star Blaster was written in, if I remember. The Asteroids clone we had on Game On not too long ago.
Okay. Max Sound.
I've never used that. I don't know where I got that from.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a digitized sound. If I remember to use the joystick port to record sound samples, then you can play them back on a Coco 3. Fairly high
Oh, very
fidelity,
cool.
like 9 kilohertz or something like that.
Performance Peripherals memory test.
Okay.
Yeah, because they sold their own 512K upgrade board.
Let's see here. What else we got here? Getting Telewriter 64 manual.
Nice.
God, I use that a lot.
Very popular.
That,
Yep.
that was the word processor of choice for me on the Coco 1 too. I know a lot of people went with VipWriter, but that was the one I used.
Here's the disassembler. For the
Cool.
that one. And what else we got here real quick here? Nice boxed version of DL logo.
Oh, wow. Dale Lear.
That's Dale Lear's. Yeah.
Yep. And
Is somebody clipping their nails right now? I keep hearing like a clipping sound. Anyone? RS-232 program pack and manual.
yeah, and it's in a very nice non-yellowed. So that was I like that. So that's
Yeah.
cool. And then not sure about pronouncing the name here, but Eaton Systems Basic Aid.
Okay, Basic Aid.
Basic Aid. That was not the one that did the short keys like on the MC10 where you could hit a key and another one to get the keywords typed in automatically. And it came with a little overlay for the chip with
the
keyboard.
template,
originally.
huh?
Right. Yeah, that was when I haven't had a chance to dig in and look at this here, so that was kind of neat. And it's in those neat cases. I don't know where they had these, but they're kind of a riveted case.
Those are vacuum formed.
Yeah, I really like those. It's cool. So thank you, Tim, for making these available and letting me.
No problem.
And thanks, Tim, for enabling Brian even further.
Further, yeah. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
That's cool. Brian, you need to open up a freaking museum at some point in time. You know what I mean? You probably could.
I've actually thought about that. It's interesting that you say that because I've even thought about trying to. I mean, obviously, where I live, there's not a lot of people around me, but I thought about trying to put like some sort of a mobile, for lack of a better term, museum. Something I could bring. I
don't think they make trucks that big to hold all your stuff. You'd have to be a freaking caravan. Brian Wiesler's
like a touring rock group.
Brian Wiesler's CoCo Caravan. Tour dates coming soon.
Right. But if there's something I could put together into some kind of cabinets, I've actually thought about how I could do something like that.
David's calling it a CoCoSeum, right? So come to the CoCoSeum, right? So yeah, that's good.
Or maybe like Field of Dreams. You build it, they will come.
That's it.
So, okay.
Will it come to Australia?
You could have like ladies' night, at the CoCoSeum and stuff, so girls get in free. That'll bring the guys. It's just it'll be a whole big thing, right? So
pretzels
cool.
And popcorn. So
new building.
Thank you.
Kevin Holloway's mentioned the 8-bit guy. Does the 8-bit guy have a building now?
Yeah, he's just been building a new one. Last while.
Yep.
Okay. A new studio shed in the backyard.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Yeah, cool. His existing studio was actually just a bedroom in the corner of his house there. It was really small. When I went to go visit him, I mean, that room couldn't have been 10 by 10 is where he shoots all of his videos from.
Wow.
Very, very small, very tight. So, yeah, it looks
That's
bigger than you think.
All right. On that note, we need to put a fork in this. All right. Yep. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Tomorrow, be safe. Remember not to drink too much before you start blowing stuff up. All that kind of good stuff.
Oh, too late, John.
Yeah, all right. So, all right. So, everybody say goodbye. Curtis Boyle, say goodbye. Everybody say goodbye.
The first thing I'll say is be here next week for an interview with Marcus Bloomrich if you have any questions. And if any of you old timers were here when he was running the CoCo site and have any questions for him, make sure you have them ready for next week.
All right. Any final thoughts? Curtis Boyle, you said your final thoughts?
Yeah, that was my final thought.
Rick Ulen, any final thoughts for you?
No, try not to blow something off tomorrow.
That's right. Ron Dovo, final thoughts?
Yeah, I had a CoCo on overnight, and it was like 107 degrees here, and it ran and kept running and never overheated. So I don't know how that guy's CoCo could overheat.
Oh, that was Canadian Retro.
It depends on the upgrade because I did the same thing. We were 105 yesterday, and I was running my CoCo the whole time with no problems. But I'm running one of the new, Gimme X style memory boards or the static RAM boards that don't take as much memory or heat.
Yeah, he had one of the Tandy memory upgrades in his, and they run hot
with the upside down chips and everything.
Yeah,
it was warm, but it
was it a CoCo 3 with old fashioned RAM upgrade?
It had the Tandy Tandy 512.
Okay, well that would have qualified.
It doesn't matter how hot it is outside; it's how good your air conditioning is.
Right.
Well, this was in my observatory in the back. There's no air conditioning.
Yeah, Ken's saying that his house was 115 at the time he shot the video.
Yeah.
It was 105 for me
Mark
yesterday.
Bosley, thanks for doing the show last week. Any final thoughts?
No. At least we got an all one piece this time.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Yeah. Brian Wiesler, thanks for show and telling. Any final thoughts from you?
Nope. Everybody have a nice weekend.
All right. John, any final thoughts from you?
None for me. Have a happy 4th, everybody.
Any positive things you could say about the Atari 8-bit system before we go?
I'll save those for next time.
Tim Lidner, you are a MAME madman, and we thank you.
Have you got your CoCo 3 yet?
Have you got your CoCo 3? Well, Brian's
if you
got
don't,
a couple.
I know where it is. Hi, Brian.
Brian's got a couple. Nick Marotta, the hair's looking fabulous.
Thank you. I heard I have competition though.
Yeah, Tim's giving you a run for his money.
Step it up, Nick.
A little bit, yeah. His is kind of got a little bit of frosting, a little highlighting going on there. It's got a little something going on there. So
I have a literal hot cocoa.
Nick Marentes, crikeys, did you stay awake for the whole show?
Oh yeah, and I haven't had a decent thought in my mind for years. So.
That's how you make good games.
Grant Leedy's out there saying goodbye. James Jones, goodbye. Canadian Retro Things. Rocky Hill, Jeremy Landry, David Craker, Eric Canales, 8 Bits in the Basin. Canadian Retro Things. Jim Rye, Kevin Holloway, And David Craker, Ken Reichard, and Chris Duras is out there, and L. Curtis Boyle, and Rocky Hill. Pedro has been out there. Sixy, Karen has been out there. Jeremy Landry, and James Jones, and Rocky Hill, and Sixy, and James Jones, and Explore has been out there. Erico was out there, and Torsten was out there. Hey, Torsten, This Week in Retro, and Nick Marotta, and Erico, and Kevin Holloway in Vocal Studio, who's DeBruce Moore, and Ken Reichard, Ladd MD. Is that David Ladd by any chance? I don't know.
I do like James's comment when you were asking for some advice and stuff. You said, don't let your leftovers sit at room temperature.
And Grant Leaney. All right. On the count of 3, let's say goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye,
Bye,
everybody.
Next week.
There was
All
no
right.
count.
We are pressing the button.